like to call the meeting to order. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the board secretary in the following manner: posting written notice on the official school bulletin board at the administration building on January 19, 2017. Transmitted notice to the Courier Post and Philadelphia Inquirer on January the 19th, 2017, and transmitted notice to the clerk of Cherry Hill Township on January 19th, 2017. Roll. Okay. We'll do roll first. Mr. Sugars.
Mr. Goodwin?
Here.
Mrs. Judge? Here. Mrs. Matlack?
Here.
Mrs. Seidel?
Here.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Here.
Mrs. Schultz? Mr. Tomlinson?
Here.
Dr. Wong? Dr. Dickinson?
Here. Please rise for the pledge. Welcome everybody to our January action meeting. I want to remind everybody that we are live streaming over the internet. Obviously, we have a lot of people in the room. I had asked everybody to be quiet and be appreciative of everybody else around you. First order of action is the approval of the minutes. Minutes we have for this evening are the regular action meeting dated November 29th, 2016. The board work session special action meeting dated November 15th, 2016, and the executive sessions dated November 15th and 19th, 2016. Are there any additions or corrections? Pardon?
December 20th.
Oh, December 20th. Do I have a motion to adopt? Mrs. Judge, and second, Mrs. Seidel. I think we have some correspondence. Sorry, Mrs. Sugars.
Mr. Goodwin?
Abstaining from the regular board meeting on the work session, I think it was December, and yes to the rest.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes, all. Now we have some correspondence from Mrs. Judge.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Dickinson. I just wanted to report three things, one of which is I attended the New Jersey School Board's Burlington County dinner this past Thursday night in Riverside, New Jersey. The topic of discussion was school security. There was several people there representing different police-type persons, I guess. There was a Riverside officer, the school resource officer for Riverside. There was FBI representation from Philadelphia, and then there was a gentleman there from Newark, FBI. And I just want to share one little quick story that I had never heard before. So the gentleman that spoke quite a bit from Newark used Virginia Tech as an example many times regarding school security. One board member in the audience asked what his recommendation was regarding an actual school shooting situation. And his response to that question was surprising to me and something I had not heard regarding Virginia Tech. He said that every situation differs. He said that he used the flight, fight, or freeze analogy of what usually happens in these crisis situations. He also said, if you see something, say something. But he said that the shooter at Virginia Tech went to target practice prior to the Virginia Tech tragedy. And he laid the targets on the ground, which was very unusual. So people thought at the target practice place of business that it was unusual, but nobody said anything. So that was So that just, I walked away from that evening just shaking my head about that. It kind of reminded me of what you heard about 9/11 and the pilots asking to learn how to fly, but they didn't want to learn how to land. And nobody, well, not very many people rose their eyebrows about that either. So anyway, the moral of the story here is to be prepared, which is something that I think we take seriously here in Cherry Hill regarding our security. And if you, especially board members, if you haven't had a moment to listen to the lunch, what do you call that, Dr. Malash? The lunch,
Online lunch with the
online
superintendent.
lunch with the superintendent. This last one, I'm sorry, I forgot that.
Digest, yes.
Online lunch with the superintendent was, Chief Monahan from Cherry Hill was there, and they discussed the Beck situation in early January for quite a while, which I didn't listen to it live, but I watched it yesterday on YouTube, and I found it very interesting and handled very well. So I did want to report that, even though it was kind of difficult to say in with this audience. But so on a brighter note, tomorrow is, so I'm changing to my second thing to bring up tonight. Tomorrow is the next Garden State Coalition of Schools meeting, and Mrs. Scarpolino is coming with me. So I'm excited to bring a board member with me to that meeting up in East Brunswick. The guest speaker is Tom Byrne on pensions. The topic is pensions. So we will report more on that next month, Mrs. Scarpolino and I. And lastly, I am attending the Senate Committee on School Funding Fairness at Kingsway Regional High School in Woolwich Township this coming Friday morning, and plan on testifying along with Dr. Malash and maybe Mrs. Matlack. And I don't know if anybody else in Cherry Hill is planning on doing that, but I'm very excited about that. So that is my report. Back to you, Dr. Dickinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Judge. Anybody else have correspondence this evening? No. Seeing none, we'll move to our reports from our board high school representatives. We'll start with High School East and Caitlin.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So a lot of things have been going on at East recently, and the most recent one occurred yesterday. Two students, Ezra Nugel and myself, hosted Cherry Hill East Women's March yesterday. Over 200 students participated and wore pink in support of women's rights. The Cherry Hill Sun also wrote an article that is currently online and will be displayed in the February 1st issue of the Cherry Hill Sun, so make sure to check that out. A lot of students participated in that. Also, the Science Olympiad Regionals competition was on January 12th, and East came in second place overall, which means we will be advancing to states in March. The freshman dance was January 13th, and the theme was Under the Sea. Our next dance that's coming up is Softcot on February 24th. Another recent thing was Coffee House. It was on Saturday, January 21st, and this year it benefited the Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots Foundation, which is groups that carry out locally and globally based service projects all over the world. These groups get to address the issues that they think are relevant in their own community. So Roots and Shoots projects have included everything from tree planting, beekeeping, habitat beautification, fairs, festivals, education. East made the activity more fun with the opportunity to pie some teachers and students in the face, and along with some great talent, there was also a Super Smash Bros. Tournament. There was a lip sync battle this Friday, January 27th. That's always a lot of fun. Teachers and students participate. Mr. Gagliardi is going to be emceeing the event, so people really enjoy that. Also coming up on February 2nd is this Kaleidoscope concert. This is another one of our vocal concerts where each vocal group wears a different color, and at the end they come together to perform one song as a large kaleidoscope. And there's a different theme each year, so this year it's going to be songs from artists from New Jersey. Also coming up in the music department, over President's Day weekend on February 20th, East Symphony Orchestra is going to be going to Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. We are one of 4 orchestras to perform, and it was an invitation only. So they reached out to us, and we will be performing then. Another thing that's going to be coming up around the district, not just at East, is the Science National Honor Society at East, which is one of the newer honor societies, is going to be planning outreaches to various elementary schools and potentially middle schools to go there and spread the love of science. So currently there's plans to attend Sharp, Cooper, and Woodcrest, and they're working on getting some new connections as well, where they will be doing demonstrations, participating at the science fair, just speaking to the elementary schoolers. In terms of science as well, I wanted to talk about one of the really good programs at East through the human anatomy courses, which is the ability to shadow a med student at Rowan. A lot of kids take advantage of that. They get to spend one day following a med student around, looking at their courses, going to classes with them, just hearing about what life is like. Also coming up for Valentine's Day, Cum Laude is preparing for its annual rose sale. Roses will be distributed on the 14th and 15th. An update for robotics is that 6 out of 7 teams have qualified for states, which is amazing. And DECA, over 100 students qualified to move on to states. So we're very excited for both of those groups. Students at East would also like to thank the board for hearing our voices and shortening the park testing period to 3 days, as well as not removing the lab periods. However, as addressed in the latest editorial from Eastside, which I see most of you have in front of you, there have been some startling information revealed about the Bio 1 courses that were not changed. At the interim period of the first marking period, 51% of freshmen had either a D average or lower. So because of this, an additional 30-point extra credit assignment was given in order to boost the grade. These are some pretty concerning statistics coming from a senior who's been through 4 years of science courses and just courses in general. And there are also not enough textbooks available for these students, so they're not able to have textbooks to bring home to study. So these are some things that East is working on addressing, and hopefully the district as a whole, as the problem does extend down to middle school, they need the proper preparation. Now, as I'm also sure you know, there are some debates regarding our production of Ragtime, but I'm going to leave the students to talk about that. But I would just like to add that the musical is very well loved and a popular event at not just East, but throughout the community. And I may not be an actress, but I am a musician in the pit orchestra. And for many students, this is the only opportunity that they will get in their lifetime to play in a professional pit orchestra. So I really hope that doesn't get taken away from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Now we'll hear from High School West with Molly.
Thank you. To begin the new year, West kicked off a great DECA conference at the Crown Plaza Hotel on January 4th. It was a great day of competition for many South Jersey high schools. West had 75 state qualifiers who will compete again at the state conference in February, which will be held in Atlantic City this year. All are excited for the new venue at Harrah's Resort. Many students interested in a career in business benefit greatly from this club. It is an amazing learning experience for all who join. It allows high school students to be able to build confidence in an interview or presentational setting and understand the key aspects of professionalism. Many are truly thankful for this club and have gained much experience while having fun. West basketball and swimming team seasons have begun. All are looking forward to a great season. West's next swim meet is this Thursday against Lenape. West wrestling is also looking forward to a great season with an impressive varsity team excited to compete. This time of year has proven to be extremely stressful for seniors, but with college acceptance letters being received, all of the hard work is proving to pay off. Many are excited and ready to begin a new educational experience in the fall. Yet finding a career, choosing a major, or even simply choosing a college has proven to be very difficult for many. At 18 years old, it is very hard to know exactly what you want to do and to know if it will be all you had imagined once you get there. It is usually very difficult for high school seniors to be able to gain real-world experience in the field they may be interested in before committing to a college or major. This is why I wanted to speak about my experience in West's Virtua internship I was able to be a part of this year and how grateful I am for it. West's Anatomy and Biology 2 teacher, Mrs. Castellani, organized this amazing opportunity for 10 of us students. I can easily say that this has been my most valuable experience I've had in high school. I've met so many valuable people with many different career paths in these hospitals who I've received much valuable advice from. I was also lucky enough to see 2 surgeries in the OR next to a surgeon who was able to explain to me how they use the new Da Vinci arm to operate. I don't know many high school seniors who are able to say that, and I'm very lucky to be one of them. Overall, the reason Virtua is so beneficial to all of us is because we get to see how our career we're interested in would work in the real world. This is the best way to choose a college major. I was able to redirect what I thought I was interested in to what will work best for me and what I enjoy. I now know I will be attending Stockton in the fall in their Accelerated Physician's Assistant program. It is a fairly new program that only accepts 20 students a year. The one thing I was asked most about in my interview was my Virtua internship. It was so impressive to them because it is unheard of for high school students to be working in hospitals, West being the first of its kind. I believe that programs like this one could be extremely valuable in the future to all high school seniors. Internships at businesses, law firms, or even theaters could be extremely great opportunities for students to learn and get a feel for a career before possibly wasting time and money on a major that does not interest or serve them. I know that many were put off by the program because of the students were required to take a half day, but this program has been so beneficial to me that I am sure it was worth the sacrifice. I am proud to be able to speak on the behalf of all elective learning experiences, and I hope that programs such as this are able to expand and become available to many other students in the future and help them as much as it has helped me. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. It's good to hear all the good things that are happening in both of the high schools. All right, now we'll move into our first public discussion. At this time, we will have your comments must be regarding items on the action agenda only. When you come to the mic, please state your name and address and the number of the item on the agenda to which you are speaking. You will have 3 minutes for your remarks. Please note that the green light will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining. The light will turn red when your 3 minutes are up. So this is for comments that are only on tonight's agenda. Anybody in the back? Agendas are in the rear of the room. Ragtime's not on the agenda. For those of you who are here to speak about Ragtime, there is a second public speaking time towards the end of the meeting. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Ben Shore.
Turn the mic on top.
Mike.
On the microphone on top. Then.
My name is Ben Shore. My address 12 Manor House Court, Cherry Hill. I can speak about the service dog issue on the agenda now? Okay. So the board decided to enforce a school policy that had no regard for state and federal law. You knowingly violated New Jersey Title 18A on educated, violated New Jersey's Law 18A 4613.2, 18A 4613.3, and you violated the American with Disabilities Access. When you were made aware that there are state and federal laws with easily identifiable contacts, why did you feel it was okay to knowingly break state and federal law? Okay. Under New Jersey Title 18A on education, it requires that schools follow state law as soon as it's signed into a law. You delayed this and caused many individuals' disabilities to suffer due to no regard to the law. There are penalties for individuals who knowingly violate New Jersey Title 18A, and I made everyone on this board aware, and the board did not started taking action, but as New Jersey law says, they must follow state and federal law. From the moment it becomes, they must follow state law from the moment it becomes signed by the governor. You took away boundaries, and then you created tons of other ones that not everybody can afford. You put expensive boundaries on that required insurance and things that not every family can afford. I'm also here joined by another family with a service dog that was denied access to this meeting. They have to wait outside because they were told they can't come in. So I would like to say that yesterday I was at the New Jersey Assembly and heard Assemblywoman Lampett talk about Charlie's Law, which unanimously passed each step of the way. She talked about how Cherry Hill schools denied me access and the new law would allow officers to come to the rescue. Did it really take the New Jersey Senate President and New Jersey Assemblywoman Lampett to create laws that would allow law enforcement to help out in this situation? This bill is expected to become law as it continues to unanimously pass every step of the way. So why wait for a law that will fine every individual $250 and so on and so forth for every violation? Tonight you will hear from me and another family with the service dog, if they'll be able to come in, because unfortunately they're outside right now. So I am with this. Will you deny me access with my service dog tomorrow, or will you comply with state and federal law? Or does the school policy override them?
Thank you, Mr. Shore.
Is there a way I could get an answer to that, or just?
Not right now, Ben. It's not a debate.
All right. So this. Okay. Can I get out that way?
Ready, Bo? Mm-hmm. Okay. My name is Ashley Masinkovich. This is Parker Masink. Nope. Whole lot of nope.
That dog can't be near me.
All right. I'd first like to thank you guys for holding on. Oh, sorry. I'd like to thank you guys for holding on to the policy. As the people behind me don't know, this is Parker. Parker is 5 years old. Parker, as you guys now know, has an anaphylactic reaction to dogs, meaning if a dog comes near him, if a dog brushes up against him, if somebody touches a dog or touches him, Parker has the potential to die. Parker carries life-saving medication. He does not have an alternate opportunity. Some people with service dogs can be accommodated by a school aide or a, or you're nodding, yes, you're so cute, by a school aide or you know, a medication or a safe room or something else. Parker doesn't have options. He simply only has life or he has death. So I do sincerely appreciate you keeping in mind Parker and other students that have severe allergies and severe asthma that simply can't be near another animal. Thank you for upholding it, because you're showing that you do care about the mass students and not the singular student, and that that really shows a lot, and I commend you on that. You are within federal law by denying an animal anywhere near Parker. Federal law, as you know, does state that if an animal is a direct threat to the health and safety of another individual, that they can be removed and they can be asked to be removed. So I sincerely appreciate you exercising your right on that. Don't you, Squeak?
Yeah.
Yeah. All you want to do is go to school, right?
Yeah.
All you want to do is be safe?
Yes.
Do you like getting hit with the needle?
Yeah, no.
No. He's petrified of needles from having to get hit so many times in the leg with an epinephrine pen. It's not fun. His eyes spell shut, his throat closes.
Yeah.
He can't breathe. We end up in the hospital for 20 hours, and he's ended up in there or out of school for about a week because of such severe reactions. So we appreciate you guys keeping him safe. We understand the need for service animals, and
When I see a dog, I would cover my breath.
we understand the need for service animals, and believe me, there are some people that really truly need them, and if it comes down to one needing to be in a building with him, then I don't know what the new policy is, but I'd appreciate, you know, either a heads up, or we can all sit down and talk and figure out what will work and what won't work for all parties involved. Okay? Yeah? Yeah, I got it. High five. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know they'd like to speak too, but I don't want to bar them from speaking. Is there any safe exit that I can use to?
Dr.
Because I don't know
Campicio.
what direction they came.
Dr.
in and out of.
Campicio. Yep.
They went both.
Thank you.
They came in both ways.
Hi, Jennifer Nadio, 224 North Madison Avenue, President of Cherry Hill Special Ed PTA. We would like to be kept up to date on what the decision is based on the service dog, because we see both sides to this very difficult decision that you have to make. So please make sure that we're kept in the loop. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nadia. Anybody else? Agenda items?
What's wrong?
Hello, my name is Debbie Martin, and this is my son Jimmy Martin, and this is our service dog Mercy Martin. I apologize. I didn't realize. I had thought that lady had already left the room. I apologize for that. I certainly don't want to cause anxiety to a child. I'm here to respectfully ask you to remove some of the barriers to the present service dog policy, such as transportation restrictions. I have a son who's on the autistic spectrum. He suffers from seizures. My desire as a parent, my husband's desire, is to keep my son in district. You know, we've looked at other schools and everything. He's flourishing. The teachers here are gifted. We moved to Cherry Hill because of the school system, not being completely unaware that we would be dealing with these issues 12 or 13 years later. I love the Cherry Hill public schools. Really don't want to take my son out of district. And Mercy, like this situation right now, this would be a meltdown for Jimmy. And Mercy gives him the ability to be in public, to be around other kids. Really is necessary for my son to be independent. Presently, he has a one-on-one aide who is a mom like me that follows him around. She's wonderful. We love her. But for a teenage boy, to have somebody standing outside of the bathroom as he goes to the bathroom and as he's going to classes with his other male friends, very tough for him. Causes him an extreme amount of anxiety that's unnecessary. And as his parents, we really want our son to be able to have the same education as his friends and continue to keep his present friends. So to ask you to consider removing those barriers. And of course, I'll be very respectful to any of the parents in that classroom of their kids. If we have to accommodate them, if my son has to go to another classroom, if the teachers have issues with it, I understand that. I'll be very understanding. I'm not a person who fights. I'm a person who wants to have the best for all children, and I would ask you to consider this. I think it's necessary for a lot of kids in Cherry Hill to be able to stay in the school with their friends, participate in activities, be able to be in band and all the things that they want to do. And I think this will help very much. And I thank you very much for having us, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else in the hall? Anybody else for anything on the agenda this evening? Okay. And let's move on to superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Dr. Dickinson. I want to start by thanking all of the board members that are here this evening, and Dr. Wong and Ms. Schultz, even though they're not able to be with us this evening because of work commitments. But January is School Board Recognition Month. So it's my pleasure to recognize all of you. Hopefully everyone saw the banner that's hanging in the front entrance. We've had that hanging up throughout the course of the month of January, and it will remain until early next week, until we hit February. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your volunteerism. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to celebrate with you tonight as for Board Recognition Month, because we go through a lot of months where there's not a whole lot of folks in the audience. So you're welcome. It's amazing to me that we're almost halfway through the academic year. As we close this calendar week and enter the beginning of February next week, we will be going through the second half of the academic year. It's incredibly fast how the school years go. A little more than 10 months is not very much time. If you talk to the two young ladies who did a phenomenal job tonight, giving you an update on what's going on at High School East and High School West, I'm sure that they will tell you the days are going by very quickly. It's a thrill for me at this point in the course of the year to start to hear from our seniors about the schools where they've been accepted and as they start to narrow down their choices. One of the great things that we find with an education that's provided in Cherry Hill is our children, as they graduate from high school, are able to go to the college of their choice, not just where they're accepted, but where they choose to go. So it's an exciting time for everyone. We're right in the throes of winter sports. The middle schools, the high schools, basketball, wrestling, indoor track, the cheer teams, swim teams, very active time in our district. If you had not had an opportunity, go on the website, see when the games are, and get out and see and support our athletes. Some very good competition that goes on. Congratulations to all of the kids who did so well in the regional competition in DECA, who'll be going to the state competition. And I can't wait always to hear the results of the state competition and the number of our students who will be then attending the international competition that this year is out in Anaheim, ladies, right? So excited to see. We already know we were at a meeting over at High School East a week ago, and then some students presented. So there's already a group of students at East that know that they've qualified for the international competition. So it's always exciting to see how well the kids do. I'm in the throes of the second focus groups that I'm doing at our secondary schools. It's really an opportunity for me to be able to sit down with kids at all three of the middle schools and at the three high schools to hear from their mouths and through their voices about their experiences, what's going well, what challenges they're experiencing, what things can we look at. Had a wonderful discussion at the Alternative High School and at High School West last week. I will be at Carusi and I think High School East this week. Friday, that we'll be together. So I'm very excited about it. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to be out in the course of the buildings. Woodcrest Elementary School hosted some colleagues of ours from the School District of Philadelphia. Wonderful opportunity. Dr. Mahan and Mrs. Katsikas in the curriculum office, through some presentations and some work that we've done, we're able to build a relationship with some of our colleagues from the School District of Philadelphia. A number of assistant superintendents as well as building principals and teachers came to see the great work that goes on in the building. It's one of the things that we talk about consistently and constantly within the district, about the great education that's provided and the work that our teachers do. So it's nice for us to be able to share and to show what goes on and to get an important feedback from folks from the outside. Last week, in the weekly message that I put out, as well as some of the information that we put on Twitter, talked about the concept of whisper down the lane. And so all of us as children, or I guess those of us of a certain age as children, played whisper down the lane. There's a lot of discussion all the time that goes on around us. Discussion is active. Discussion is engaging. Discussion, in some ways, I will tell you, the way that it looks electronically at times can also be addicting. The one thing that I encourage everybody, if you have questions about the district, ask the district. Contact us. Contact the building. You have a question about something that's going on in your child's classroom? Contact the teacher. You want to know what's going on in the school? Contact the principal. If you have additional questions, contact one of the assistant superintendents or Dr. Mahan in curriculum or me. We have a new feature that's been up for a few weeks on the website for community questions. If you go all the way over on the right-hand side of the web page and look at community tabs, there's a question section. Click on there. Send a question. I'd be happy to answer them. I'd be happy to talk to folks. I like to talk. Most of you know that. But if you have questions, let us know. It can become very hot, very, very intense debates that go on. And at the times when those things are going on, facts don't always matter, okay? So I'd rather be able to give factual answers and provide information to you rather than that kind of stir up. It gets ugly. People have very strong opinions, all right? So if you have questions about the district, we might not always agree, and that's okay. But contact us if you have questions. We'll continue to do the online lunch thing because I can't imagine what people would rather do between noon and 1 than look at me or a special guest. Thankfully, Bud Monahan, and I am grateful to the chief of police in Cherry Hill for his relationship that he has with the school district and the work that he does, and that the men and women on the force do to provide for all of us when we know that it's going on and when we don't know what's going on. Chief and I had an opportunity to have a conversation about a follow-up from the incident that took place at Beck, as well as additional discussion about school security. Those are on the YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel for Cherry Hill School District. They're always there. They're in posterity. You can certainly go on and look, and if you can't get enough of this, certainly take the opportunity to do that. One other thing, we'll begin to advertise on February 22nd at 7 o'clock at Carusi Middle School. We're partnering with Cherry Hill Police Department to do a presentation for parents about use of cell phones, texting, sending images, taking images. Our colleagues from the police department, as well as some folks from the district, the building principals will be there, 7 p.m., February 22nd at Carusi. We're really trying to target 5th grade through 9th grade parents, but all parents are welcome. Please come out. We have serious issues going on in our township with kids taking pictures and sharing them. Please come out. Mark it on your calendar, February 22nd. All right? Thanks, Dr. Dickinson.
Okay, let's move into our action agenda for the evening, and I'll ask Mrs. Seidel to move the C&I agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Dickinson. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Number 1, approval of attendance at conferences and workshops for the 2016-2017 school year. Number 2, first reading of revised policy and regulation. Number 3, approval of out-of-district student placements for the 2016-2017 school year. Number 4, approval of non-public school technology for 2016-2017 school year. Number 5, approval to amend No Child Left Behind fiscal year 16-17 budget to reflect carryover funds. Number 6, approval of non-public school security aid for 2016-2017 school year. Number 7, approval of Mount Misery mileage. Number 8, approval of the ESEA Accountability Action Plan 2016 participation rate for park. Do I have a second? Mrs. Judge, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes to all.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Scarpellino?
Yes to all.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Next up, we have B&F, and I'll ask Mr. Goodwin to move the agenda.
Okay. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 1, financial reports. 2, resolution for the award of transportation. 3, resolution for the award of change orders. And 4, acceptance of donations. Do I have a second? Ms. Lisa Seidel. Any questions? If not, Mrs. Sugars.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Judge?
I need to abstain on the bill list regarding the Cooper Health System. Yes to the rest.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel?
Abstain with respect to CDW on the bill list. Yes to the rest.
Mrs. Scarpellino?
Yes to all.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Abstain from Bancroft Neurohealth on the bill list. Yes to the remainder.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Now ask Mrs. Judge to move the HR agenda.
Thank you. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Number 1, termination of employment non-certificated. Number 2, appointment certificated. Number 3, appointments non-certificated. Number 4, leaves of absence certificated. Number 5, leaves of absence non-certificated. Number 6, assignment salary change non-certificated. Number 7, other compensation certificated. Number 8, other compensation non-certificated. Do I have a second? Mrs. Scarpellino. Any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Scarpellino?
Yes to all.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Okay, next we have P&L, and I will ask Mrs. Scarpellino to move the agenda.
Thank you. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. Number 1, second reading of revised policy. Number 2, first reading of revised policy. Number 3, approval of waiver of regulation 2340 field trips. Number 4, approval of harassment, intimidation, bullying investigation decisions with the exception of incident number 2196, which is being pulled from the agenda for tonight. Are there any questions? Oh, sorry. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Judge. Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, Mrs. Shears.
Mrs. Scarpellino?
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Okay, next up, we have Dr. Malash, who's going to join us again with another statement.
Thank you, Dr. Dickinson. Just have a statement that I'd like to make prior to the second public comment. First, I'd like to begin by saying that I'm very glad to see so many folks here this evening. I'm grateful that I've heard from so many during the past few days, the respectful folks, and even the folks who are not respectful, regarding their perspective on our production of Ragtime. On Friday, January 20th, 2017, the district released a statement regarding the production of Ragtime at High School East and concerns with the inclusion of the N-word in the production. There has been considerable press and discussion regarding the statement and the status of the production. Words matter. The N-word. I do not believe that there is another word in the English language that has been universally used to inflict as much pain, to degrade and debase, to humiliate and scorn, or to singularly categorize a race of people. As you research the derivation and the application of this word, some of the earliest references are to the cargo on the ships of the Middle Passage. Cargo, not human beings. Property, not people. And for how that commodity was accounted. The word was used as a surname. The word has been adopted and assimilated for use by members of almost every group to land on the shores of our nation with the same intent, to inflict pain. We're a public school district. We're a very successful public school district, and a district that continues to become more diverse every year. We provide an environment for our students to learn, to mature, to thrive, and to grow. An environment that allows for discourse and for discussion, for debate, and for challenge. As Ragtime was first being staged in Canada, the Cherry Hill School District and the Cherry Hill community were engaged in a discussion about the N-word and the role that it has in the teaching of Huck Finn. In fact, through the involvement of many, and some as I look out who are here tonight, a new curricular model was developed for the teaching of that novel, a Cherry Hill curriculum that has since served as a national model through the support and the cooperation of PBS. I believe that the greatest power to change lies in education. Ragtime, in its nearly 20 years of production, has continued to shine a light on the ugliness that existed in the early 20th century, of the racism and the xenophobia that were, and sadly are, all too real. It has sparked discussion and anger and emotion, and it has educated. So much has occurred in the 110 years since the days in which this show is set. It took decades after 1906 for a federal anti-lynching law to be adopted. Decades. The word was used by elected officials at every level of government, from mayors to governors to sitting presidents in the White House. There have been marches and movements and protests, large and small, related to this word. Cherry Hill was honored to welcome Carlotta Lanier. She came and spoke to our children and our community about her experience as one of the Little Rock Nine, those brave children who integrated Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. The word exists. I wish it did not. I wish that it was not used in our schools or in our community or in the world, but it is. I wish that we did not deal with issues in our elementary schools or in our middle schools or in our high schools when the word is used today, but we do. I have an incredible amount of respect for the multiple Tony Award winner, Terrence McNally, and his craft. The man is a genius. He has an ability to convey the deeply troubling message in this story from E.L. Doctor's original text. He translates it to dialogue and to interaction on the stage. I also know and respect the work of Brian Stokes Mitchell, who originated the role of Coalhouse Walker Jr. on Broadway. I respect, most of all, in this discussion, for Mr. Weaver and Mr. Gambino and the team that they have assembled at High School East to produce the show. Their ability to produce it in a manner that is appropriate for the audience and for the high school environment. High School East, in fact, produced the Miracle Worker last fall. And honestly, the most compelling performance on that stage, night in and night out, was achieved without ever uttering a single word. Words matter. The N-word has been used for hundreds of years. It has withstood the test of time in its ability to retain its vile and painful value. It's provided a continuity of hate and disgust from generation to generation. Giving it voice continues to breathe life into it. The N-word matters. This is our time as an educational community to examine who we are, to look at what we believe, and the words that we choose to speak together. We will continue to provide discussion in our schools together. We will continue to move forward and to learn together, and we will continue to dedicate ourselves to the children in our schools and to our community at large together. We're in contact with Music Theater International. That's the company that licenses Ragtime regarding the use of the N-word. The contract that we have with MTI is clear that they must approve any alterations to the show. Without approval from MTI, we are at a crossroads to determine whether we move forward with the show in its original form or pursue other options. No action will be taken this evening regarding Ragtime. There will be additional discussion with stakeholder groups as this week progresses. If you choose to address the board this evening, please be respectful. Words matter. One of the things that makes me so proud to live, to raise my children, and to work in this community is the respectful manner in which we conduct ourselves. Again, while all the folks from which I've heard in the past 24 hours have not been respectful, I ask that you conduct yourselves, as I know you will, in a respectful manner in your words and in your actions. Now, as has been our practice when we do public session and there's a large audience, we always invite our children, our students, to speak first. And in acknowledging that, I know that there are some children here from Woodcrest Elementary School. You guys have kids here with you? Teachers? So as we start, again, and Dr. Dickinson will go through, talk about the time that you have. We would ask the Woodcrest folks to step forward.
Thank you, Dr. Malash. Very, very well said. Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll now move on to our second public discussion. When you come to the mic, please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes for your remarks. Please note the green light will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining. The light will turn red when your 3 minutes are up. Obviously, we have a lot of people in the room. Please be mindful of your time. You have 3 minutes. And if you don't have anything constructive to add beyond what's already said, you certainly have a right to speak, but we ask in respect for everybody in the room to let the message come across, but let's not hammer it dead, okay? So once again, state your name and address, and we have our first speaker.
It is. Chris Boyle, 11 Locust Grove Road. I'm the proud mom of Emily, who's a 6th grader at Beck. You all know Caitlin, who's at East. After I heard her report, I was kind of wishing she had written my speech for me, so I'm going to try not to embarrass her. I am a Woodcrest School, proud Woodcrest School teacher for 24 years, and some of us are here to speak about the good things happening in our school. As Dr. Malash mentioned, on Friday, January 13th, Woodcrest School welcomed guests from the Philadelphia School District, along with some participants from Cherry Hill. Woodcrest was selected for this honor based on the many positive practices observed during our last curriculum walkthrough. The day began with a welcome breakfast sponsored by CHEA and an introductory meeting that highlighted Woodcrest data and literacy practices. The cohort then went on to visit a classroom in grades K, 1, 2, and 3. They observed ELA lessons that centered around sorting and writing, differentiating between nonfiction and narrative text, using context clues, responding to nonfiction, searching for text evidence, and utilizing the Fab Four strategies. Finally, after visiting the classrooms, the cohort was able to meet with Woodcrest teachers and staff and debrief, giving teachers an opportunity to elaborate on our literacy practices. Members of the Philadelphia School District gave us wonderful, beautiful comments about Woodcrest School's climate, positive interaction between teachers and students, friendly, inviting bulletin boards and displays, and on and on. Just to quote our fearless leader, Mr. Cohen, feedback provided by two of the Philadelphia assistant superintendents present was a testament to not just the teachers who were observed, but the entire Woodcrest staff. As I said, I'm a very proud Woodcrest school teacher, proud to work with all of these teachers, and it was nice to invite other teachers from another district in to see some of the good work that we're doing, and not just Woodcrest, but the whole district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carol Agamba, 911 Reed Avenue, Franklinville, New Jersey. I'm the school counselor at Woodcrest Elementary School. I've been at Woodcrest for 21 years now, my first year as a counselor. I'm here to share about our Character Education Initiative and the Great Kindness Challenge. First, I'd like to say, as Mrs. Boyle did, how thankful and how extremely fortunate I feel to work with such an amazing group of people, from our custodians, our educational assistants, the teachers, the nurse, the specialists, and our new principal. Everyone is really invested in making Woodcrest a warm and welcoming environment. If you haven't been there, come on by. Woodcrest School is truly a special place. As one of the co-chairs of the Education Committee for the past 3 years, it's evident that our faculty is passionate about guiding children to become critical thinkers, not just academically, but socially as well. There's always a large turnout for our monthly Character Ed meetings and tremendous support for the projects and initiatives. The engaging discussions, sharing of resources, and faculty surveys have guided and inspired us to create a section in our library dedicated to to housing character education literature by theme, to reinstate having a Character Ed Word of the Month with monthly Character Ed assemblies presented by the students, and looking into planning a multicultural day later this year. Most impressive is that the teachers at Woodcrest are invested in and motivated to take the themes of the month and extend activities in their own classrooms. This practice perpetuates teacher and student voice and allows the students to explore, decide, plan, and take action by looking outside of themselves to see how they can contribute positively within the school, the community, and globally. The word of the month for January at Woodcrest School is kindness, which dovetails nicely with this year's theme of the Year of Joy. Throughout the month, students have been sharing quotes of kindness and reminders on how to be kind to others during morning announcements. Currently, Woodcrest is participating in the Great Kindness Challenge. The Great Kindness Challenge is a week-long campaign to do as many kind acts as possible. Last week we had a whole school kickoff assembly performed by the 5th grade students who did a fantastic job. They introduced the Great Kindness Challenge and created excitement around the upcoming activities that we're participating in this week. It was just amazing to see them take on a leadership role and share their ideas to enhance the delivery of the assembly. They had some really creative things that they wanted to do that, as adults we don't always think of, so we did incorporate that into the assembly. During the Great Kindness Challenge, each grade level in our school is creating paper hearts that will be hung in a new school that's being built in Pakistan. And some of the other schools in the district are collecting coins. We decided to complete the decorating type project in lieu of collecting coins to allow the students to really feel ownership and a sense of personally being able to touch others' lives, outside of our country and outside of their kind of small community. Other notable Character Ed practices introduced by our principal include weekly bucket fillers that are completed by the students and faculty.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop there.
Okay, I'm going to pass it off to...
Okay.
I like to talk. You have to tell me where you finish.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Stever, and I live at 204 Highgate Lane. Where are you finished? Okay. And I, too, have been at Woodcrest. I believe this is my 16th year, and I cannot imagine being anywhere else. I wouldn't be anywhere else. It's a wonderful place to work, and just like I think Chris said, please, or Kara said, please come and visit us. We would love to see you. No, I don't know where you finished. I'm sorry. Okay, we have been bucket fillers. They have been completed by the students and faculty to thank another person for making them feel special. Bucket fillers are announced and displayed prominently at the school entrance. Woodcrest also participates in PBSIS, where the students receive special shark tooth tickets for demonstrating their good character throughout the day. They are shared with their parents, and they have to be signed and then returned to school for a chance to earn a special award. The combination of these practices and teacher-driven initiatives work in tandem to provide a supportive, nurturing environment where students learn the importance of respect, responsibility, and citizenship. The focus of good character and developing a strong character ed initiative has sparked positive acts, not only among the students, but more importantly, I think, for the staff as well. And there have been lots of random acts of kindness done among our faculty members. Classrooms are being sharked, and it's kind of like by our school, that's our school mascot, and receiving creative activities to do with the students. So you walk in your classroom one day and you see a bucket and it's filled with what another teacher basically sent you a special gift to share with your class. The teachers received these surprise positive notes from parents. Oh, I'm sorry. And also on Parent Visitation Day, we, from our guidance counselor, she set up that all the parents gave little special notes to the teachers and made us really feel good. So after Parent Visitation Day, I walked to the office and I got about 15, because there were 16 parents in my room at one time, about 15 notes just saying, something positive about the classroom. It was affirming to learn that our visitors from the Philadelphia School District complimented on such a warm, wholesome, and inviting environment we provided. And this is truly what we strive for at Woodcrest School, so come visit us. We would love to have you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Campisi. I live at 1207 Maresfield Court in Marlton. I am also a Woodcrest teacher. Sorry, I came from the gym. During the one of the parts of our character ed program is service projects. During the month of December, the fourth graders at Woodcrest spearheaded a 2-week-long service learning project. Students collected donations for Animal Aid USA, a 100% volunteer organization dedicated to helping animals. Through their rescue and relocation model, they create a lifeline for unwanted, abused, and abandoned animals in the southern states, while also helping animals and their families in our own community. The collection began after students created posters, flyers, and made announcements in an effort to get the whole school involved. After collecting the donations for several weeks, we had the founder of Animal Aid USA come to Woodcrest to talk to the students about the amazing work they are doing to help the innocent, voiceless animals in our country. Each and every child in our fourth grade class took part in loading the many generous donations into the Animal Aid van. The students took great pride in this project. As a result of this service learning project, many of our students have opted to continue volunteering their time and efforts for these animals to continue this vision. The fourth grade team is proud of how the students have come together in recognition of many animals in need in our country. We are confident that the next generation of animal advocates will have gotten their start at Woodcrest School.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jamie Kleiner. I live at 36 Crooked Lane.
Hi, my name's Debbie Address. I live at 175A Collins Court in Mount Laurel.
We're here to talk about mindfulness and something that we've been doing in our classroom, and we know that other teachers at Woodcrest have as well. We teach together in 3rd grade in an inclusive setting. This year we found that many of our students struggle with feeling overscheduled and burdened with the pressures of daily life. So much so that some students are expressing anxiety or striving for perfection and focusing less on just being a kid. Due to these observations, we decided to not only focus on the importance of academics, but to consciously integrate a daily practice of mindfulness. After all, what's more important than the nourishment of a child's mind, body, and soul? We found the perfect time to start our project was during our daily morning meeting. This way, we aren't taking away from instructional time while beginning our day on the right foot and with the appropriate mindset.
To begin, we have dedicated days of the week to our mind and body awareness, namely Toolbox Tuesday and Thoughtful Thursday. On Toolbox Tuesdays, we try to teach our students a new tool to put in their toolbox to empower them when they're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, things that obviously we all feel. We also expose them to various famous people who have struggled, failed, and or made mistakes. That's what we do on Thoughtful Thursdays. Students are often amazed to find out that people that they look up to or people that they know that are successful, like J.K. Rowling, Michael Jordan, things like people like that, have struggled and worked so hard in their journey. In turn, we've seen an almost miraculous shift in our classroom environment. We celebrate mistakes. We've literally stopped to applaud mistakes happening in our classroom because we know, and now the kids know, that that's the road to success. We've also engaged in daily practices of meditation, body scans, mindful listening, breathing, grounding exercise, finding awareness around us. There are many kid-friendly resources and metaphors that have made this a perfect fit for our third graders. We often compare our energy levels or how we're feeling to a snow globe. So if we're feeling riled up and anxious, you can imagine the snow globe all with the snow fluttering around. And that point is when we use our tricks that we've learned on Toolbox Tuesday to calm our snow globes down. It's also given us language that we can say, the classroom feels this way, let's try to calm it down. Want to just finish up there?
Sure.
Okay.
Some things that we've taken away from this focus, child and adult alike, is that we're all a work in progress, constantly learning, changing, growing, striving to be our personal best or what is our best on that day at that time. We found most importantly that our students are less stressed and better able to handle disappointment and challenges.
Stop there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else?
Good evening. My name is Aaliyah Bowles, and my address is 26 Innskeep Court, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I am a professional actor and a 2007 Cherry Hill East graduate. I was an active member of the theater department, and my time spent there had a huge impact on why I chose to become a professional actor. After graduation, I studied musical theater in New York City at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. I've done a national tour and various regional productions. In 2008, I did Ragtime at Camden County College with the main stage theater program, where I was cast as Sarah, the black female lead of the show, with Mr. Weaver as my director. The ages of the cast range from 14 to mid-20s. Personally and as an actor, this show was one of the best experiences of my life. It is one of the most moving and educational pieces of art I have ever seen and been a part of. We were met with amazing, supportive, and positive responses from audiences. To this day, being a part of that production gave me a close-knit group of friends from various backgrounds. One of those friends, who is also a professional actor, says, "I think it is our imperative duty to take an artist's words and music to educate the world. Art just isn't a form of entertainment. It is a lesson in humanity. While the N-word may be initially bring audiences and students discomfort, it will act as a beneficial lesson about our past, present, and where we are going to move forward as people." Another friend who is a teacher says theater provides a means of education by relaying the strength and meaning of words and how powerful their impact can be on the world. By not providing a full integrity of this piece, you are sacrificing the capabilities these words have to shape and change the future by embracing the harshness and reality of the past. High school students today live in a world that needs to understand the power of words. If you remove this word, you disregard the intention of the author and deliberately tell the wrong story and alter its significance to the children and their opportunity to be a force of change. I am so proud of Troop 213 of Cherry Hill East and this cast for starting a petition to reverse this decision, which by noon today had over 1,000 signatures. The volume of signatures reflects the many people who understand the role of the arts as a medium for education. Go Go out and tell our story. Tell your daughters and your sons. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. These are lyrics that Coalhouse Walker sings. If we could only listen to them now and realize how important it is for this story to be told the way it is written. Yes, words matter. Let's not erase them from history. I ask you, please reconsider. Let these kids say these words that were unfortunately the norm, and let them moments later walk off that stage to realize how lucky they are to be where they are and to be able to accomplish things these characters and real life people of this time only dreamed of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowles.
Carrie Lawrence Savage, 17 Tulane Avenue, Voorhees, New Jersey. I'm also First Vice President of the Camden County East NAACP. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, when you said it back then, you knew it was a lie. It was a coping mechanism to allow you as a kid to get through a hurtful situation. Words are powerful. Words are impactful. Words do matter. We all have limits, some personal, while others are defined by society. These are also known as codes of conduct, codes of decency, codes of fairness, and the like. Despite having some historical roots, the production Ragtime is essentially a fictitious production, not a documentary. This is not some Broadway production in which unrestricted artistry abounds, but rather a high school production in a public high school funded and supported by a diverse group of local and state taxpayers. The content matter, language, and sensitivity should always be reflective and sensitive to the community in which it operates. It's all a matter of where you are drawing your line, setting your limits. The N-word has been officially banned by the NAACP and a large percentage of the population. I and we don't need to be refreshed on what racism is by the unfettered use of this word and like phrases in a high school play or musical. And who benefits and grows by this language anyway? Knowledge and awareness is one thing, but insult and degradation is totally another. Racism and the associated ugliness is unfortunately not that hard to experience in today's 2017 America. Now, if this was a slant against the Jewish community or the LGBTQ community, you'd probably be much more sensitive. But because it's a slant against black people, it becomes an issue of artistic freedom. Really? I was an educator for 23 and a half years and a district administrator for another 10 years. I'm 67 years old, and you can't call me the N-word and then tell me it's art. I don't care what your rationale is. I've been through too much for that. Let's live up to a higher expectation by not glamorizing racism, negativity, and stereotyping. Words are powerful. Words are impactful. Words do matter.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. I'm going to ask the audience to please keep it down. Got a lot of people in here. We got a lot of people to get through. We don't need any outbursts. Thank you.
I did say I would invite the students to speak first, and now they just have to walk up to the microphone. So certainly, absolutely, the students can come up.
Hello, my name is Cedric Middleton. I live at 301 Browning Lane, Unit 40 Centura. As an African American born and raised in Cherry Hill, never once have I felt personally attacked or segregated as a result of my skin color. From the age of 6, however, I found myself emotionally connected to the African Americans of the Civil Rights Movement. This nationwide oppression that my people had to endure disheartened me to no end. At the same time, educating myself on the physical and mental suffering that the civil rights activists persevered through gave me a sense of pride, knowing that their struggle was not in vain. Research of Black history and the civil rights era, and in particular, inspired me to believe that I too could help transform the world into one of equality and unity. As Colehouse Walker Jr., I am cast as a man who is oppressed by both the law and society as a whole. The atrocious language used by policemen and Harvard businessmen alike characterized the bigotry African Americans faced during the 20th century. In addition, the audience acknowledges that even in the present day, there is much to be done, and so that all men are endowed with the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. While Colehouse never finds the justice he fought and died for, he encourages his men to teach every one of their children, to raise their voices, and to demand their rights until they are heard. I fully understand the feelings of discomfort, especially for those viewing such a show. In this venue of entertainment, it is not common to use language that is repulsive in a play that explores the oppression of different races and religions. However, in the wise words of Brian Stokes, who played Colehouse Walker Jr. in the original Broadway debut, Ragtime is about how we get through such ugliness, how we talk together, how we work together, and how we get through together. By performing Ragtime the musical, performers and audience members alike experience the unbearable difficulty that comes with saying and hearing such vernacular, and as a result, they discuss how such oppression has no place in this country or in this world. In conclusion, I firmly believe that Ragtime should be performed without censorship, so that everyone involved sees the ugliness in human history, so that we can progress forward toward a better community and a better world. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Ezra Newgell of 8 Vanessa Court. Board members, you might recognize me from sitting at your table at meetings. We, the people, are greater than fear. Theater has been the single most important activity I've been involved with, not only at East, but in my entire life. My family has been a part of the East Theater Department for over 9 years. We are an ambitious department that is nationally renowned, and we got there by taking risks. Risks including the production of To Kill a Mockingbird, which includes the repeated use of the N-word. It is unfathomable to me why a school board would allow the production of these past productions, but censor Ragtime. Please do not ruin my senior year musical, something I've been looking forward to since I first performed in The King and I at East in 3rd grade, by censoring it. In the show Ragtime, I am cast as one of the characters who uses the N-word. I don't say it happily, but I know that I have to. Words matter. Words matter. The N-word matters. The K-word matters. We need to hear these words to not let history repeat itself. Please listen to the words of the people speaking tonight, and do not overlook the 1,400 individuals who took time out of their day to fill out a petition against censoring Ragtime. We the people defend dignity. We the people are greater than fear. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Justin Accardi. My address is 119 West Riding Road, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I hold in my hands the petition that people have been speaking about, which in this copy has 1,325 signatures and has since gone up to 1,447. If you would like a physical copy, I would happily bring it up to you. Excerpt on the opening page of this petition reads, "For several reasons, including a potential loss in sympathy for the show's oppressed characters, the robbing of integrity and artistic license for those involved in the performing of the show, and the possible setting of a precedent that would allow other important artistic works in Cherry Hill East's curriculum to be censored, the general student body is highly displeased with the decision to remove the N-word and other sensitive racial slurs from Ragtime, and requests that it be overturned. Although we somewhat understand the reasoning behind this decision and also understand that the board wouldn't have made it without outside pressures, we nonetheless ask that it be revoked for the sake of Cherry Hill High School East's continued artistic freedom and ability to present history as it happened, rather than how we'd prefer to remember it. Now, I considered a lot about what I could say during this speech tonight, and I was initially going to bring up points that might appeal to the board more, such as that MTI has a history of blacklisting high schools that alter the texts of their scripts, and therefore Cherry Hill East would not be able to perform any musicals for any number of years, possibly forever, or the fact that this decision could lead to the censorship of other books, such as The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and To Kill a Mockingbird in these schools. But I don't think that those 2 points speak to the heart of the matter of the conversation. Rather, I have a quote from one of our most fervent supporters, Brian Stokes Mitchell, the original performer who played Coalhouse Walker Jr. on Broadway. He says on artsintegrity.org earlier today, "It needs to be acknowledged that whomever complained, I understand why they would be upset, given the tenor of the times and what's been in the news. If this was an African-American family, we must acknowledge that these words at this time represent a very old wound that has been freshly scraped open. There is a renewed feeling among some people that they can say terrible things against ethnicities, against women, against the LGBTQ community. For those in communities that have been historically marginalized, there is now the real belief that there is a segment of the population that feels newly empowered to be offensive. I understand and acknowledge that, but that is what the show is about. It is about terrible, ugly things that happen to people and how they surmount that. Our country has an ugly history with race. To take the ugly language out of Ragtime is to sanitize it, and that does it a great disservice. People should be offended by those words, but it's not done in a way that glorifies the people saying it. Rather, it allows the show to take people on a journey. It's Coalhouse's journey. It's Sarah's journey. It's the journey of the 20th century, and it's still our journey today. The N-word is still thrown around without empathy. Ragtime is about how we get through ugliness, how we talk together, work together, get through it together. The show takes us to the next
Joseph,
steps.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ashley Cooper of 134 Ashley Court. Dr. Malas, you said yourself, words matter, and I could not agree more myself. This is why I feel as though Ragtime is now a more needed piece of art than ever before. Ragtime sheds a light on the racism present in the 20th century, but simultaneously reflects the current reality we live in. The N-word has unfortunately infested itself within the media, music, television, and even the East community. Every day the N-word can be heard up and down the halls of East, and even heard on the speakers at school dances. The N-word has sadly but truthfully become a tolerated word within the school community that is stated by students of all races. Terrifyingly, the N-word has even taken on a positive connotation by some students, denoting a severe lack of understanding within the student population of the term's historical background. Through Thespian Society Troops 213's production of Ragtime, we hope to educate students on the true ugliness and meaning behind the derogatory N-word. If students understand the lineage of the N-word and the grossly devastating effect the word has had on black people in history, they will learn why such a word should never be used in casual conversation or within a school setting. Further, we must show the truth of history in order to progress forward. We cannot sanitize it. To censor Ragtime is to erode the past history of racism within this country. Pretending as though racist remarks of the past never existed simply cultivates and normalizes ignorance. Ragtime does just that, through beautifully and tastefully showing artistic expression to combat those ideals. Rather than causing a divisiveness within the school community, Ragtime would unite the school body in our current time of division. Ragtime proves that we must face our reality in order to propagate a more beautiful future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sung Kwang Oh. I am currently just High School East school president, and I'm a proud member of the theater community here at East. History, we're often taught in our classes that history repeats itself. Today, I'd like to share an example. According to early modern...
Sorry, just a little bit louder, pal.
Sure, of course. According to early modern German accounts, in October 1532, a merchant by the name of Hans Kohlhaas was attacked and his horses stolen by the servants of a Saxon nobleman. Demanding justice, Kohlhaas went to this nobleman and asked for his horses. Instead of giving his horses back, the nobleman gave Kohlhaas a price at which Kohlhaas could rebuy these horses. Ridiculous, right? Enraged, Colas then demanded a monetary compensation, which was then denied. After that, he went to his sovereign to state his grievances. Colas didn't get his horses back. Full of rage, Colas then started a feud, not only against this nobleman, but against the entire Saxon community, fighting against the law of his very country. Forming a group of followers, he fought against the law, and this was his personal quest for justice. Henrik von Klass then portrays this story in his book that then directly influenced the writer of Ragtime, the novel, which then formed the basis for Ragtime the musical. In both the musical and the book, Colas Walker Jr., like Kohlhaas from the German accounts, faced a similar discriminatory situation. Instead of horses, it was a car. Instead of a nobleman, it was a white supremacist. Instead of a just social hierarchy creating this problem, it was racism as well. This story of injustice is ingrained in human history. But why do I mention this parallel? Colas Walker Jr. wasn't even a person. No, he was more than one person. He represented an entire race of people in the United States who suffered in a society that first enslaved them and then persecuted them. Sometimes we look at history and think of it as just a story. But even in stories, you don't ever take the nasty parts out because they complete the story. For example, when you read Cinderella to your children, you don't leave out the mean stepmother. When you recount the story of King Arthur, you don't fail to mention the struggles that Wart faced as a child. No, you don't. It's the bad. It's the struggle that makes the success even more admirable. We are in a better society today, not because we were destined to be in this better society, but because people before us struggled. They heard derogatory terms. They faced physical challenges. But that didn't faze them. To change this script is not the politically correct action that you may think you are taking. No, you're altering history. You're dismissing the harsh word in which thousands of minorities heard. You're ignoring the racial tensions that existed in social structures of the 1900s. You're belittling this quest for personal justice of an entire race. Others today may mention the 20+ nominations and awards this musical received. Others say we'll speak of the importance of history. But today, I'm just asking you not to change history, to not forget this quest for personal justice that is still present in America today.
Hello, my name is Penelope Merzensky. I live at 141 Tansborough Road in Berlin, and I am currently a senior at Eastern Regional High School. But more importantly, I'm the stage manager at Eastern Regional High School. Fortunately, this area of South Jersey harbors support for the theatrical arts, and with this support, I have chosen to pursue theater production after graduation. Although I'm not a member of this community directly, I am unified through theater to my Cherry Hill peers, many of which I have done shows with. I'm afraid that this censorship of historically important and accurate material will set a poor precedent for surrounding school districts, such as my own, that will inhibit the material that we can produce and showcase for the community. No offense, but no one learns anything doing mundane and mindless shows like Legally Blonde or Shrek. But shows that deal with heavy or sensitive topics that bring these conversations into an arena that is a positive environment for discussion and education. I'm urging the members of the board today to think not only of their school, but realize the weight that this decision holds for the rest of the citizens in this area as well. Thank you.
Hello, I am Bethely Jean-Louis. I live in 301 Henchman Avenue, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. The usage of the N-word in Ragtime is not used to glamorize racism. Instead, it's used to historically reflect racism in the early 20th century. To censor the word from the show would be erasing a part of history. Though the word may be deemed as ugly and make some uncomfortable, I believe the usage in the script creates an impact and resonates to the audience a powerful message. Words do matter. History has never been pretty or a comfortable subject. It is difficult, but it is needed to look at. In order to understand our mistakes, we must learn from history, though it may not be pretty. I believe that the arts, especially theater, has a duty to reflect our past and realities in order to stir human emotions for change. As a young black teenage girl, I can say for once in my life, I can hear the N-word being used as an instrument for awareness and change rather than a weapon meant to cause pain. I believe in my fellow peers who are performing along my side because I know that we are coming together for a good cause. Knowing that we are all mature and united makes me feel comfortable about the subject matter. It has brought us closer together. And my castmates and I know that we have a responsibility as thespians to resonate a message with our audience, to make them feel something after the show, so we handle the subject matter with care because we do realize its severity. To censor the N-word from the show would be a disservice to the playwright, author of the novel, and those people of color in history who have endured the infliction of hearing that word against them. But we have the opportunity to use the N-word for good, to steer away from the direction of its past use of malintent. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rick Lewis, 170 Nantucket Trail, Medford. I am a professional playwright, composer. I'm a director. I'm a film director. I'm a stage director. I've been doing this for a long time. But I'm also a social activist. So I really do understand both sides of this equation. There are people in this room that were born before there was a nationwide right for black people to vote. There are people in this room who don't have a real understanding of what Jim Crow was. There are people in this room that, or I won't say people in this room, but I've certainly had conversations with people who believe that slavery ended hundreds of years ago. There are people, contemporaries, who think that black folk didn't have it all that bad. At this time, in this climate, an opportunity to use ragtime to educate is monstrous. It educates in a few ways. Solutions like workshops and teaching and bringing in people who have struggled and who have walked and who have gone through the fight to talk to the students, to understand, to have discourse, to see the prominent suburban family, the Eastern European Jewish immigrants, the black characters from Harlem, and to talk about how society has, since in the time period that it was written, how it's changed, how it's grown, how it's moved, things that have advanced, things that are still where they were. To have that kind of conversation with the students, to have that kind of information, and to have the students be immersed in what it means to look at somebody and say, you N-word, you K-word, and to have them understand how that interaction is more than just some theoretical thought, that's invaluable. Something like having talkbacks with the audience becomes sometime where the community is engaged. So you have the show and you have these bombs land, but then you engage the community, because at the end of the day, we all live next to each other. At the end of the day, we're all neighbors. So we need to be able to have these discussions, and we need to be able to understand how that hurts and how it lands and why it lands. And no, it's not some far off thing, because there are still things that are happening today. So I would ask that you allow this show to be presented in its form, but that it's surrounded and encased in education for the cast and education for the community. Thank you.
Deborah Bowles, 26 Innskeep Court, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, proud mother of Aaliyah Bowles. I couldn't be more proud of Aaliyah and the students who are here tonight. I didn't have written in my comments, but I have to say, when Aaliyah was not always welcomed at Stockton, not so much at Rosa, didn't happen too much there, but certainly at East. She was welcomed with open arms in the theater community. She doesn't like me to talk about the fact she was Aida, because she's a very modest kid. But that experience brought her and her friends even closer together in a way that I, as a parent, learned very much from. I've been a resident of Cherry Hill for over 31 years. My husband and I have 2 children, graduates of Stockton, Beck, Rosa, and East. I am familiar with many of the challenges and struggles of students, families, and staff in a district which has not always been receptive to and understanding and appreciative of students and staff of color. For 10 years, I served as co-chair with Pat McCargo of the Cherry Hill District Minority Achievement Committee. I also served on the committee Dr. Malash mentioned earlier, through which we brought Carlotta Lanier here and a woman for whom Aaliyah sang at a performance at Cherry Hill East, and a committee which brought me to people and understanding of whom I never would have met in the community. I, too, am 67 years old. I come from an era when every interaction with the word nigger was a hurtful one. However, as it relates to Ragtime and the story it presents, the N-word should not be removed, but rather explained within our country's historical context. Eliminating the word from Ragtime is an attempt to cleanse history and to make others less uncomfortable. My background is that I grew up with the NAACP family. My dad, Raymond Brown, was president of the Jersey City chapter of the NAACP for 12 years, during which time he took me and my brother Raymond to many meetings, sit-ins, and events related to racial and social injustice. My dad developed his ardor for civil rights through many experiences in the North and South, during which time he saw and experienced firsthand how shabbily and humiliatingly blacks were treated in this country, some still today. He honed his reputation with Southern civil rights cases in the 1960s, including providing legal representation and working with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I bring that history, and yet I see, through the story of Ragtime, we follow the experiences of wealth and poverty, hope and despair, freedom and prejudice, as we learn how the worlds of 3 very different families intertwine in New York City. Yes, this performance is provocative, and talking about race relations makes many of us uncomfortable. But the show should go on uncensored. Ooh. If the district provides workshops, resources, guidance, education for students, teachers, and audiences, and in classes, if information and questions related to the N-word and racial issues are taught and answered in theater meetings, rehearsals, the program, if we can facilitate post-play discussions. Ultimately, talking about matters of race is uncomfortable, but if we bring a critical mind, an open heart, and a willingness to use this play as a teaching experience as well as art, people can be enlightened and develop a greater sensitivity. Perhaps we can discover, as the Ragtime characters do, that in spite of our differences, there are connections of the human heart and understandings of justice among us. How wonderful that artists can be at the leading edge of this conversation.
If there are any students left in the room, please come forward so we can get you guys out of here and go home and do your homework.
Gabriella Stahl, 227 Nathaniel Avenue. I'd just like to address some of the arguments I've heard in support of the censorship of this play. One of which is that the issue of racism in this country is too raw and too real and relevant to the current time period, what with movements such as Black Lives Matter, for this show to run. It may cause a raw nerve, but that's essentially the point of this show. We have the N-word in the show to shock, to make you think. And that being said, this show, I've also heard, it's not in support of any modern movements such as BLM. We are still a nonpartisan group. We are not taking sides in any modern issues. This show is presented from a past perspective to make impact on a modern mind. Additionally, this show is not meant to attack anyone. The characters that do use the N-word are not framed in a positive light in any way and are not glorified. The use of the N-word in this show is not glorified, but shamed. It is a shock to the audience, and the characters that use this N-word are not framed in a positive light at all. So the notion that this show would be glorifying the use of the N-word is, to me, rather absurd. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Namara McCall. My address is 236 Dobson Lane, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I graduated from East in 2011 as the vice president of the Thespian Society, Troop 213, and was an active member of the performing arts community in South Jersey area. The memories that I made there will stay with me for the rest of my life, and I actually was in the production with Aaliyah Bowles as well. The memories are important to us. And we make these memories to remember, right? We remember stories, the ones that are told for us to reflect on our history and our personal past. We remember our loss. We remember our trauma. We remember our victory, and we remember change. Our remembrance happens in many forms: in dance, folklore, tradition, history, the news, education. Tonight, we discuss remembrance taking its form in high school theater. It is the purpose and mission as educators and as artists to equip students and the community with the best tools to interact within a diverse and sometimes abrasive society, to engage in difficult discussion, and to challenge and reform systemic issues. The news of censorship has brought attention to this situation. We see it already. So many people have already quoted, many people, I'll just say Brian Stokes Mitchell one more time. You know, but one of the things that I really did want to respond to was the member of the NAACP who said, we don't want to see this being presented to us. And I understand. Don't come. Don't come to the show. But some people need to hear it. Some people need to remember. Some people want to remember so they don't forget. If you teach these people that it is okay to change the history of a story that may not be entirely factual, because Coalhouse is a fictitious character, but there are other true characters like Booker T. Washington in this production that bring this narrative to life, you erase the power of the N-word. It is a bad word. Yes, words matter. But how can we move past something if we don't forget the pain of it? I cannot remove the scar on my arm that I had when I was 2 years old just from a bird. We didn't have the money to pay for our heat. But just as much as I can't remove that scar, I shouldn't be able to remove a word just because it makes some people upset. Period. Period.
Good evening. Danny Elmore, 25 Birchwood Park Drive South, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I was part of the group with the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association that met with Principal Perry after concerns were brought up about the use of the N-word and what that meant. I also was part of the group that met with people from PBS and worked on the Huck Finn issue when that was in the school and the divisiveness that the N-word caused in the community then. I haven't seen so many people in one area since we dealt with that issue, and that's one of the that's one of the problems. And what I hear from the students is an area that we as a community really do need to come to and to make decisions together. When we talked about Huck Finn, we agreed at that point that we didn't want to censor using Huck Finn, but the important part was that the students were educated before they came into a classroom and heard these words, heard this word that is so divisive. I think the same approach is what we all discussed in our meetings, is that we're about to put on a play, and what kind of impact is that going to have on the community to individuals, some individuals who do believe in the play is very powerful in that it discourages people from being prejudiced. It's a very powerful play. It is a good vehicle for making sure for saying that use of the word N-word or treating people differently because of their race. That many of the people were either immigrants or African American is something that our society should not tolerate. However, and I think people have voiced this, the key to this is that when you put on a play, when you use a book, it is important that all sides get to hear how that term affects other people. And perhaps the best way to do this is, this is an educational process in itself, just being here. And everything that has happened, had this occurred before the play was on, I think we wouldn't have had a problem with it at all. What happens is we as a community hear it now. We don't hear these kind of discussions in our classroom now. We don't hear these kind of discussions at board meetings. That the Multicultural Task Force has indicated over and over again that we need to, as a community, come together and discuss both sides of this issue, of these issues. And so what we're saying is, after hearing the students, and I have to agree with them that the play is a great vehicle. The real question is, are we ready? Are we ready? Those people that weren't here, those people who will go to the play and be offended, are we protecting their students and those people? Are we going to take the play and are we going to use that to our benefit afterwards and have seminars or discussions about it, which is what we need? And so I don't think we want to censor the kids. But I do think that we as a community owe it to ourselves, before we take a step that's going to hurt anybody, that we take it carefully.
Good evening. I don't know if Pat McCargo. I'm not sure I want to give my address. And I'll tell you why. Because there is a student now suffering. And I know that his parents and her parents would not want me to say this. But since this controversy has blown up, this kid is being bullied. Because he had the audacity, and she had the audacity, to express her hurt. That's wrong. That's wrong. I will tell you, and most of you here on the board know this, my husband was a former board member. I've lived in this township all of my life. When I went to school here, it was one high school, 600 students, and of that 600 students, there were 6 black kids. 6! And I can tell you the horror that was for me and my husband and others like us. So today I come as a parent, as a grandparent, as a member of the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association, and to lend voice to the voiceless who are afraid to be here. They're afraid to be here because they're afraid that if they voice how they truly feel, then they will suffer the consequences as a couple of the other students. So having said that, this is what I would like to say to you today. I know there are varying opinions on how this district should or should not handle the issue of the play Ragtime, which is scheduled to take place at East. While every single opinion is valued, I will ask you this. Did anyone ask the students who are currently attending East, particularly students of color, how they feel and who are most impacted by your decision? Did anyone bother to ask the student advocate what she's hearing from students? Did anybody ask her that? It is all well and good to say what should or should not happen. But are you walking in the shoes of those students on a daily basis who have impacts on their lives daily in the corridors of Cherry Hill East. I have said in meetings on this issue that had the prep work been done prior to this play didn't just happen overnight. It was at the end of last year sometime that this play was in the making. We've had conversations at East time and time again about what we perceive, and maybe some of these students don't disagree, but maybe you need to talk to those who do agree, that there is some systemic racial issues in there that need to be addressed. The work that your district is doing with regard to cultural proficiency is a good measure to start that work. The committee that Dr. Bowles and I shared, Debbie and I worked hard on Huck Finn. We worked on the Minority Achievement Committee, which at that time had parental participation. Today, cultural proficiency doesn't have that participation. So, in meetings and on this issue, work has to be done in the individual classrooms prior to the play. If that had happened, we might be looking at a different outcome tonight. It's as if the cart was put before the horse. For that reason, I support the request of parents and other organizations to refrain from using the N-word until such time classroom discussions and lessons take place. It's no different than when I, along with others from the community and teaching staff and administrators in this district, worked on the teaching of Huck Finn. We're not trying for censorship. We could have pulled out Huck Finn, but we opted not to do that. But I ask you to take a look inside. It's not just impacting these previous kids who are in there. It's impacting kids. And it's not just East. Truthfully, how many people on the West Side are going to be able to play at East, and vice versa? So who are you really teaching? Are you teaching the community? Get the work done first.
Good evening. My name is Mike Franz. I live at 24 Stanwick Road in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and I'm a graduate theater student at Villanova University, expected to earn my master's degree this May 2017. The definition of theater as put forth by Aristotle is to teach and to please. As theater artists, no matter what level we are on, we educate and entertain. We escape reality, but we also bring forth reality. Ragtime, the musical, as it was originally written without censorship, is reality. To censor the language would be to distort the reality of our own history. I've worked with Cherry Hill East students in the past and can say with pride that they are able and willing to handle the language and the lessons it can teach us in a graceful, professional manner. I urge the board to please reconsider the censorship of the musical Ragtime for Cherry Hill East's production. Thank you for your time.
Cedric Middleton, 31 Browning Lane, just in case you didn't catch the first time.
Cedric,
yes.
With so many people here, we can only have people come up one time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Reginald Middleton, proud card-carrying, dues-paying member of the NAACP, a former member of the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association, former board member of a theater in Philadelphia that plays some very opinionated, not fun plays, but also the proud father of two students from Cherry Hill, one in West that sat under Dr. Maloche, Kayla Middleton, and a proud father of Cedric Middleton. First, I want to say that neither of my students, and I've been in, and both have spent their entire educational career in the public school system, have ever reported to me that they had any instances in Cherry Hill. One of the things that I'm proud of, and I tell many people, is that we have been embraced. I grew up in Philadelphia in a not diverse area of Germantown, but my kids have been embraced by the community, and I think all Cherry Hill residents should be proud of that. I want to say leave three things for the board to consider, to listen, and to read. Number one, read the play. I Obviously, some, even in this room, have not read the entire play and understand that there's other issues other than the N word. There's another word in the play that's also. So I would, as you make your decision, I would ask you to read. I'd ask you to consider all the voices that you heard today, even the opposing voices. Now, I request that, of course, that you not censor the play for reasons that have already been articulated. But I think you ought to listen to the community that has spoken. I think you ought to listen to the parents who have spoken. I think you should listen to the people from the arts community that have spoken. I think you should listen to all the students who have spoken. I think you should listen to what you really feel in the inside, beyond some of the outside pressures. I think this is an awesome opportunity for us as a community to grow and to learn some things together, hear both sides of the argument. I think this is a tremendous educational experience that we're having tonight. I think the students, as others have said, can learn so much by this play not being censored, more so than this play being censored. And I also think that you should consider the investments that all of the students have already made in this play. Consider the investment that those in the orchestra have made in this play. Consider the investment that the theater department have already financially made to this play, and those funds were raised by the parents and the students and the supporters of the theater department. But most importantly, consider how we can grow as a community from this play. Mr. Weaver, my son was going to mention, went to him, who's one of the leads in the play, and discussed some of the issues. And I'm just proud of this meeting tonight and hearing all sides of the story. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Debbie Jastro, and I live at 803 Society Hill in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I am the new Secretary of Activities at Cherry Hill East. And I was a graduate of the Cherry Hill East class of 1998 and the Vice President of the Thespian Society, Troop 213. So the points that everybody has made have been so eloquent and beautiful and passionate on both sides, and it's amazing. So I don't want to reiterate any of those points. I wanted to speak to the one point that the man made about the fact that if this were about Jewish people or anybody else, it would be, a huge issue and we wouldn't do it. In 1997, I was in a production of Cabaret on the Cherry Hill East stage. We had a Nazi flag that took up the entire width of the stage that came down. We had people who were hiling. We had people wearing swastikas on their arms. We had a song called If You Could See Her Through My Eyes, about an ape, how disgusting she was. And the last line in that song was, if you could see her through my eyes, she wouldn't look Jewish at all. That line was there in the play in 1997. Nobody fought it. Nobody took issue with it because it was a lesson we learned. We took Holocaust class in school with Mr. Carr, one of the most brilliant teachers I have ever had in my life. And the experience I had in that show is one I will never forget. It was so amazing, and the school was so amazing that I came back. And I am so in touch with this theater group, and when I found out they were doing Ragtime, I was like, that's my favorite show in the world. I saw it on Broadway with the original production with Brian Stokes Mitchell and Audra McDonald, in the very first number in the show where there's the white elitist, there's the immigrants, and there are the blacks, and they stood there with their postures and their costumes. I bawled because of the segregation. And then at the end, when there's the integration, the message is so important. Every piece of this message is important, just as it was in 1997 when we talked about the Holocaust and didn't censor that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, first of all, to everyone for coming out, and thank you for staying late to hear us. My name is Selena Carty. I live at 119 West Riding Road, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Like the previous speaker, I grew up here. I graduated in 1988. I'm a little bit older. To your comment, words matter, absolutely. The N-word is no question how hideous and disgusting it is. However, in the context of this discussion, it is art, and art matters too. Art has always mattered in this town. I also moved away and came back particularly for that reason, because arts, whether they are literary, fine arts, or performing arts, have always been top-notch and well-respected in this community. The censorship came as a complete shock and affront to me. Not only do I feel that you have insulted the audience of our community's ability to receive that art form, you have also insulted the actor's ability to portray it. This theater department is award-winning and for decades has churned out professional actors. Case in point. Ragtime is art. And when it was a book, it won the National Book Critics Circle Award. In 3 separate professional productions, it garnered 49 combined nominations and awards for theater. As a film, it garnered 21 nominations as awards, including but not limited to the NAACP Award and a nomination for the portrayal of Booker T. Washington in a real person, and as for the entire film. In closing, I would like to read, and part of this theater department's stellar reputation is that we have the respect of the professional theater community because we go back decades. And with that, I'd like to read a letter sent to you all earlier. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it. It is a combined joint letter from the National Coalition Against Censorship, the Dramatists Guild of America, and the Arts Integrity Initiative. Dear President Dickinson and members of the board, as a coalition of organizations concerned with protecting free artistic expression, we write to express our concerns about the redaction of racial epithets from the musical Ragtime at Cherry Hill High School East. We urge you to reconsider this educationally harmful and legally problematic decision and allow the musical to be staged in its full integrity. Our understanding is that Cherry Hill High School East has been preparing to stage a production of the Tony Award-winning musical for the last several months, with the play scheduled to open on March 10th. On January 18th, the Camden County East Branch of the NAACP sent a letter to the superintendent, Joseph Malash, and condemned a decision to perform the musical that included racial slurs.
Mrs. Carter, I really have to ask you to end there.
Eileen Nadio, 6 Tunbridge Road, Cherry Hill. Goes on to say the Cherry Hill African American Civil Association also met in person with the administration to express its concerns. Soon afterwards, school officials released a statement saying that the school would remove offensive language from the enacted script. The musical is set in the early 1900s and explores the lives of a wealthy white American family, a family of Jewish immigrants, and an African American ragtime musician in Harlem. At several times throughout the musical, characters utter a racial slur. Staging a musical provides an engaging educational experience. Musicals enable student actors to explore and embody perspective and social circumstances that differ from their own. At their best, musicals deeply move audience members to think about the complexities of the human experience. Ragtime, of course, is no exception to this rule, as those who perform and view the show will gain insights into American culture in the early 20th century. Redacting the script will undercut these benefits. Ragtime's use of racial slurs as a historically accurate and necessary aspect of a play that explores race relations in the early 1900s. Ragtime helps minors understand the brutalities of racism and the anger that has historically accumulated, partly through the use of racially offensive language. In contrast, censorship of such language ignores historical reality and presents falsified, whitewashed view of race relations. Censoring the play will only perpetuate ignorance of our past. While we empathize with the concerns about the emotionally disturbing effects of hearing or uttering racial slurs, we believe such concerns are to be resolved through educational means, not by censoring a renowned text. In our experience, similar concerns around productions of To Kill a Mockingbird or of Mice and Men, for instance, have been confronted through dialogue rather than censorship. As Cherry Hill Public Schools has noted in its statement, students will participate in learning activities stemming from Ragtime in an effort to use our history to further expose the ugliness of racism. These activities will benefit all students, especially if they're allowed to allow students to explore the complex relationship between free speech, theater, history, and literature. On the other hand, censorship will not expose the ugliness of racism, rather it will further obscure it. Finally, we note that unauthorized modifications to Ragtime's script may violate copyright law and licensing agreements. In the absence of explicit permission from copyright holders, any modification of the text can lead to a revocation of Cherry Hill High School East's right to perform the musical. In summary, we urge you to reconsider and reverse your decision to censor Ragtime. When paired with learning activities that further explore historical racism, performance of the uncensored musical would provide students with valuable and enriching educational experiences. Sincerely, and it's signed by the National Coalition Against Censorship, the Dramatists Guild of America, and the Arts Integrity Initiative. Thank you.
Hi. Debbie Samuels, 522 Main Street, lifelong resident of Cherry Hill, descendant of a slave, Charity Still, who was captured, returned to slavery, and escaped the second time. It may not hurt you. It may be popular. But let me tell you this. There's a whole lot of children in this district that are being hurt by the N-word. We need to be accountable for the hurt and the pain that these children are going through silently. It may be cool because society says the N-word should be accepted, but unless you were hurt by the N-word, and I graduated from Cherry Hill West in 1977, and there were many a day that I walked the halls of that school where I was the only African American in my class, and I was called the N-word. But because of loving parents, I was able to get over my hurt. But there are a whole lot of other ones that didn't get over it. So we need to all take a pledge to bury the N-word and find another word that will be promising and will promote the effectiveness and the individualization of our nation. It's not just happening here, it's happening all over. And no, it's not acceptable by someone who was hurt by the N-word.
Good evening. My name is Peter Cudahy. I live at 4 Brondesbury Drive in Fox Hollow. And I want to thank the board for allowing this discourse, and I want to thank everybody here for coming because it's so important, and it's great to see Dr. Perry and Dr. Chapman. I'm here to support the cast and the crew of Ragtime, including my daughter Cassie, who's a sophomore at Cherry Hill East. She's home sick today. I can tell you, as a Jesuit-educated individual and an attorney, I'm deeply concerned about the board's decision to censor this literary work written by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Terrence McNally. The issue of racism will forever be a part of the fabric of the true history of our nation. It's an ugly truth that no one can ever deny. And let me be clear, there is no place in a civilized society for the N-word. And I say that with an asterisk at the end of the sentence. With an asterisk, because art imitates life. Art is meant to entertain, to inspire, but most of all, to educate. Similar to A Kill a Mockingbird, which was performed at the high school a few years back and which contained identical language, the lesson of this critically acclaimed work of art is that racism is immoral and must not be tolerated. To Kill a Mockingbird moved us forward as a community and was lauded by the administration right here at Malberg. I fear that the board's decision to edit the text of this carefully crafted show is nothing short of a step backward and the beginning of what we refer to in the law as a slippery slope. Whether you know it or not, your decision is an open invitation in the future for others to insinuate themselves and insert themselves into our curriculum. And while everyone is welcome to participate in the curriculum, you will not only be relinquishing control over your own curriculum, but your decision will have a profound effect upon future boards because it will set a very dangerous precedent and it will constrain future boards. At the heart of the matter, this is a censorship issue. If you excise certain language from the text, you are sweeping history that must be taught so that it is not repeated under the rug. And in the law, we have something called the reasonable person standard. So if your concern is that the language offended someone within the context, would offend someone within the context of this play, I would submit to you the issue is not whether any person could be conceivably offended, but whether or not the reasonable person would be offended to hear it within the context of this art. And I think that the reaction to your decision by the African American students in the cast provides you with great guidance in this analysis. None of them, not a single one, is the least bit offended by the truth in this work of art. And you heard from them. I just want to say, these are the roles of a lifetime for these kids. And it saddens me that they may not be able to portray these roles. And I think I would describe it as short-sighted because we have folks here who've talked about how this affects them. And let me tell you how it affects me. I just want to say, when I see this play, and I saw it, I cried. It moved me.
Mr. Corrigan,
What
I'm
it did-
going to stop.
Yeah, sure.
Need to stop you there.
Okay, it made me feel closer to you. And I think we need to do that. We need to have talkbacks.
Stay away for long.
Actually, I'm here on behalf of my daughter. I'm reading from her text. She is a student at Goucher College. So I'll read what she said. My name is Steve, what she says. My name is Shelby Robbins, and I graduated from the Cherry Hill East Theater Department last year. I was highly involved in the department and know how much the show means to the students and faculty involved. However, I think it imperative to seek all possible and reasonable compromises to remove the N-word from the production, as other productions have done. I, as a white woman, respect the NAACP and the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association on what they would deem as an appropriate compromise, especially in today's world. The issue at hand is not of censorship, but one of the audience's discomfort, and it is more than a reasonable request for a significant portion of the audience whose taxes subsidize this play to request that a teachable moment not be made at the expense of their discomfort. They have asked that you please not make that done. They know the arguments on the other side. They know about historical context. They know about playwright authenticity. They decided that this is more important. Don't make their pain your lesson. I am disagreeing with several of my friends to stand up for what I believe in, and I hope that you would do the same. Thank you for your time. And with the balance of the 3 minutes, I'd like to make my own comments. My name is Steve Robbins, and I'm actually a former board member. I would frankly like to know, if not tonight, at some other time, how whoever made the decision to run this play without taking into account this very predictable moment, locking the district into a script that doesn't allow for educational context, it's incomprehensible that the district would bind itself in that manner. This contract was not brought before the board. I know that for a fact. And so I really do want to know what the process was that allowed this production to be performed in this way. As it was said before, this was predictable. Pat said it perfectly. The time to have this discussion is before you put on the production, not when you're 2 weeks away from curtain raise. I get it. I know how hard these kids work because I know how hard Shelby worked when she was here. And by the way, she's watching from Baltimore. And she's getting pilloried on Facebook. But I know how much time and effort goes into this. But somebody at that school failed and should be held accountable. Thank you.
Good evening.
Amir Khan. We moved to the Cherry Hill Estates, 1967. I'm a graduate of Cherry Hill West, 1974. Probably a little older than most of you on the board today, probably 95% of you, but if I can just take you back a little bit. We moved out of Camden in 1967. Father a doctor, mom a nurse, went to Howard University. They wanted to see better. The riots broke out in Camden. My father worked real hard. We were in a terrible car accident because of the money we received from the car accident. We were able to come to Cherry Hill Estates, and in 1967, they bought Frankie Avalon's old house on the corner of Cherry Hill Boulevard and Jamaica Drive. Funny thing was, we didn't know this until just last year. Frankie Avalon bumped into my sister down the shore, and he said, I'll tell you guys this now because it's 2016. He said, before we sold you that house, he said he had to go to the different neighbors around the house and get permission to sell it to blacks. I can tell you that within the first week, us moving into 400 Jamaica Drive in Cherry Hill, going to Cole School, then over to Brainerd, and then graduate from Cherry Hill West. I don't know if you know what it's like to have people from the neighborhood stand in front of your house, 5, 6 of them, using the N-word and saying, go back to Africa. That's what we've had experience. The following week, somebody shot through our plate glass window and the 2 lights in the front of the house. There wasn't a month that went by from 6th grade to probably 10th grade until I made my name in athletics that I didn't hear the word and call the N-word over and over again. One of my best friends in high school, a white gentleman who lived down the street, would pick me up almost every day in junior and senior year and take me to school. He and I pole vaulted together also. I played football and wrestled and pole vaulted, and he pole vaulted with me. He would pick me up and drop me off. I'll never forget coming back from a track meet. He had a yellow Mustang, and when we got off the bus, all happy because we won the meet, and he had the word N-lover spray painted on his yellow Mustang. I can go on, and unless you've been there and experienced that and know what comes up when we hear it from others, the hurt, the pain, the anguish, can't tell you how it makes my mother feel, who, when she was at Howard University and goes to the Woolworths counter and says, we don't serve coloreds here. And if you, believe me, I also came out of the drama department. My brother, who, I made, and I'm Hall of Fame, yes, in Cherry Hill for athletics, but if the real credit goes to my brother, who graduated from Cherry Hill West also, who went on to Rutgers, who started the largest black-owned theater company in the country, who then went on to be a Tony Award winner. So I'm not talking from some bootleg person who doesn't know what they're talking about. I talked to him about it. Ricky was the first Tony Award winner for Crossroads Theater, first African-American Tony Award winner in the country. And I asked him about it. He said, Amir, it's a good play. It's got a great message. I've been there, know the directors, know everything about the play. But he said, it's not for high school kids. It's not for high school kids, because when I went to high school, my plays, we just went out because we knew the friends. We weren't paying $50, $100 on Broadway to go see a drama presentation. I'm going there for a reason. You're going now to see a play because your friend's in there and they're in the play. And to hear that word, to know how offensive it is, to know how it rises up hatred and bigotry in today. And let me tell you something. As much as you say it's a teachable moment, there's no more teachable moment than watching German shepherds bite at blacks in the 60s, to watch people being hosed down. That's all the teaching moment. Listen, you can have the N-word all you want. I guarantee you, if you use the N-word in the play, if you use the N-word in the play, not one of you will be more affected than you are right now, and I didn't use it one time. Thank you.
My name is Bruce Schwartz. I live at 24 Lenape Road. I've lived in the township for 36 years, and I've sent 2 cool kids through the Cherry Hill school system. They were both active in the theater program at Cherry Hill West, but this is a township-wide issue. I'm here to speak in support of these young people, to present the play as written. I don't think I can add very much to what they've already said so eloquently, and I think that you should be proud of the fact that these children have learned critical thinking and they're using it tonight. Ragtime as a novel is great literature. Ragtime as a movie and as a musical are great movies and great theater. And you should hesitate a great deal about messing with that. Ragtime the Musical is a profoundly anti-racist show and should be presented as the authors intended. I want to make a note, again, I'm going to try to keep this brief because everybody has said what I would say much better, and I only had about an hour to prepare this. I only learned about this from my daughter who tweeted me. In the show, there was a song called the Baseball Song, where the father from the affluent white family takes his little boy to a baseball game. And the point of the song is that everybody who belongs to an ethnic minority comes in for an insult. I'm just going to read you 4 lines. Kill that Mick. Run, you Polak. Strike the kike. Kill the kraut. Now, I can't speak for people of Irish descent. I can't speak for people of German descent. I can't speak for people of Polish descent. And I'm not going to claim that I can speak for all people of Jewish descent. And I don't want to minimize the pain that African Americans feel. The discrimination, again, has been much more recent and much more rabid than anything I experienced in my life. But I do want to tell you, speaking as a Jewish person, that I heard the word kike plenty of times when I was young, and I got beat up a couple of times when I was young and was called a dirty Jew. And this is one kike who isn't afraid of the mere mention of words. Finally, although I don't think that the reaction we're going to get on Fox News is the best reason to do anything or not to do anything, I think you need to understand that if you vote to censor this play, Cherry Hill Township is going to be mocked all over the country for being too thin-skinned to look at the reality of the ugly parts of our past. So I implore you, let the... Part of a good stand-up act is to know when to get off the stage. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jay Fox. I live at 3 Anvil Court in Cherry Hill, lifelong resident of Cherry Hill. My son is the other actor who is going to be saying the word that's at issue this evening in the play. And spent a lot of time working on that and developing professionalism around that because he's working with Cedric, who spoke earlier. I don't want to take up too much more of your time because you've heard plenty tonight, but I do want to correct a misstatement made before. And this is the resolution from the NAACP. Be it resolved, the NAACP shall not condone, award, or engage any person that uses the N-word in any capacity or in any artistic endeavor that does not allude to the historical context of the word or that does not highlight the prejudicial nature of the word. This is an artistic endeavor that more than alludes to the historical context and more than alludes to the prejudicial nature of the word. When my son says that word, if he is permitted to do that, he will be instantly vilified because he is the character saying that word. And he will not at that moment be denigrating race. He will be denigrating racism. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kevin Nadio, 6 Tunbridge Road, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I would first like to thank the board for listening to everyone tonight and everyone's complaints. Sorry. I first want to talk about, I'm a sophomore at Cherry Hill East, and last year as a freshman I participated in a theater class called Living Theater that Mr. Weaver teaches. And something he mentioned the first day was no matter what scene or situation we're thrown into, that it is not us, the actors, who are portraying these horrible villains or characters. It is our job to portray the historical events, and I think that if you get rid of the N-word or any other racial slurs, that you will be negating the facts of history. Something else that I want to bring up is this was not only approved by Mr. Weaver, that this was also approved by the board, and you guys had to sign off on his budget. And so it is my attention that you had to sign off on the play. And so if you were not aware that issues like this would have been brought off brought up, then I don't know why you would sign off on this play in the first place. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Darlene Orlando, 22 Harrogate Drive. All right, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but some things were said here which it hurt me, and I thought it was important that I shared my experience to maybe set the record straight a little bit. Specifically, one of the gentlemen, he said something that just, struck a chord with me. I may be white, I'm Jewish, I'm close to 60, so I grew up in a community where I was the only Jew. We moved in, there was no one within miles of us. I went to school and I was harassed. I was called Dirty Jew. I was called Kike. I was one time physically assaulted by 2 boys who stopped me on the way home from school and physically hurt me, called me, yet again, those same words. It was very upsetting, it was very scary. I was about 11 years old. I heard these things for years until the community became very integrated and things got better for me, thank God. I come from a family where my father is a Holocaust survivor. He was born in Czechoslovakia. When the Nazis came, they took his family. He was one of 8 kids. Only 5 survived, no parents, no grandparents, no cousins, no uncles. There was just my father and the 2 of them, the 2 of his siblings. I had no family. My father not only lost his family, but he was beaten by the Nazis. He came out of that experience with blindness in one eye from being kicked so many times in his eye socket, and he came out with physical, mental, emotional scars. I heard that my whole life. I would hear him every night waking up with nightmares. This is not something that you easily forget. I have a nice life now. I understand what's going on here. I support the non-censorship of this play. And in this play, and this is what I have to say to the gentleman who misrepresented the play, he says he believes, I guess, that it's only African Americans who are being targeted in this play, and that's not true. It's Jews, it's Irish, it's immigrants of all sorts. And there are words used, the words that make me sick, the words that I remember being called and picked on for, and it makes me upset. And when I hear those words, I get very angry, and I want everyone to hear those words at that place so that they get angry, and they have the feelings that I feel, and that they realize that racism is wrong, anti-Semitism is wrong, and this world has to change. And that's what this play is doing for us. It is giving us opportunities for people who don't even realize what they're looking at, have been not a part of this. They're younger, they haven't grown up experiencing this. You look a little bored. I hope I'm not boring you. But this is what I expect from this community. I think that this is what this does. And I support the school and I support their use of these words. I wouldn't want, as a Jew, and I will say one more thing. When I went to Hebrew school, they would say to us, why do you think we teach about the Holocaust? And the answer was, they would tell us, so that we never forget and it never happens again. And that's what I don't want here. Thank
you. My name is Keith Benson. My daughter graduated from Cherry Hill West in 1999. Just to give you a background on my arts, I am an artist. I do arts for a living. I have the largest single record coming out of Philadelphia National Records called Ain't No Stopping Us Now that President Obama used. I also have a film called Standing in the Shadows of Motown I was one of the producers on. And I work with Tony Award-winning Joe Walker. So I do arts for a living. Now, there's a couple of problems that we have here. Number one, I've never seen the play. But if this play is so god-awful weak that one word will destroy it, that tells me pretty much all I need to know about that play. The problem that we're having here is I'm thinking the most surreal moment I have experienced all year was when I woke up November 9th and Donald Trump was elected president. But I can't believe I'm walking into a body in Cherry Hill and we have a lot of my white brothers and sisters arguing with us that we have to use the N-word. That beat the Donald Trump experience. The problem is your use, and matter of fact, your irresponsibility to even let it go through this far is a total insensitivity to the community that you're serving, because you legitimize the word. We don't need the N-word in the play to make sure that people know that the N-word is wrong. This is a gratuitous use. I don't care how you look at it, especially when you don't have to use the word. If this play falls apart, and I didn't interrupt you, if this play falls apart because you can't use one word, it's not a very strong play. I do arts for a living. There's no single word you can take out that's going to destroy the whole work. So the fact of the matter is, I would hope that we would really get a grip. And when I say get a grip, I'm also a history major. I want you all to understand that in 1865, at the 13th Amendment, a lot of white people were shocked that their kidnapped victims were leaving. That's how tone deaf sometimes our brothers can be to the pain of our people. Our pain should not be your pleasure, and it's not about censorship. It's about sensitivity, humanity, and pure decency. Thank you.
My name is Gilda Cooper. I'm Ashley Cooper's mom. We live at 134 Ashley Court. I am an educator. I'm an administrator in a high school, and I've taught on the elementary, middle, and high school level. I've been in education for 27 years. So I kind of understand what our students can handle and what they can't handle, and also what kind of plays are presented. But more than that, I understand that somebody who hasn't actually seen the play or actually read the play really might think of the N-word and think of, okay, well, that shouldn't be in there. We can just replace it. You really can't say black man. I'm not your black man when that wasn't used at that time. So this is a piece that is a time-sensitive piece. You have to use the terminology from that era, or else it will not make sense. Secondly, I'd just like to say that if you have Cedric Middleton portraying this role, and he says, "I'm not your nigger," it really will be so powerful after all the things that go on at this time when they're, desecrating everything about him and calling him all these different names, and then he says that, he sings that. Everyone in that audience will just stop and just be changed. And that's what this is about. My daughter goes to Cherry Hill East, and she said to me, Mom, it's really odd that you would say that you don't like the word and you don't like it being heard, and that's why you're going to take it out of the play. Well, it's said every day up and down the halls in Cherry Hill East. And white people are using it, Hispanics are using it, blacks are using it, and it's a term of endearment, or it's being used in a negative way. But this is an opportunity for it to be used where we can say, you know what, this is what it means, so don't forget that this is what it means. And just as my Jewish friends say, never forget things that have happened, the only way we can do that is by remembering and letting people learn from this. This isn't something where people are just using nigger and just using the word. They're actually using it and showing how horrible it is. And the conclusion of it is really sort of nailing in, this is a horrible word, don't ever use it, because this is what it actually means. And that's what those students and that's what those parents are going to walk away with, and it will be powerful. And anybody from the NAACP, which I got a scholarship from the NAACP to college, and I donate money to the NAACP with every paycheck. So I don't understand. It really shocks me that the NAACP would be against this, because it's a teachable moment, and it's a moment where also not only blacks are being portrayed in a negative light, but Jews as well, and they're also accepting this. We have to accept this, and we have to let our students teach people what is going on today, that has nothing to do with what went on in the past, because we need to change things. We need to change things today. We don't need to go back in the past and just keep using those words, and we need to understand where they came from. These kids using it today are using it improperly. They need to know what it comes from, and they will stop using it. Do you understand what I mean? Thank you so much.
So So, hi, my name is Catherine Trauger. I'm currently a senior at Cherry Hill High School East, and I'm currently cast as the female leading role in our spring musical production, Ragtime. And I only could have foreseen that a lot of people here today, unfortunately, have never seen the musical, so I wanted to start out everything with a quote that I think really encapsulates what the musical is. We have different lives and faces, but our hearts have common places. This was deep inside me, and you helped me find it at last. This song is sung at the end of Act 2, when an immigrant woman, a young white man, and a black man from Harlem all have one thing in mind: justice. And much like that, we are all gathered here right now and have one thing in mind, and that's to do our part in getting justice for the past, the present, and the future of our world and society. But how can we grow and change and become a better nation in society when we can hardly accept these words of the past and what they are and how they have affected us and how they affect us today? I must take this time to shed light on the problem as a whole, and I asked the person who said, "Why this play at this time?" But what I wish you and many others could see is that this is the time that this message needs to be put out. Not only does the show Ragtime fight for justice for blacks at the turn of the century, but also for immigrants and for women. Look around, the Black Lives Matter movement, the refugee crisis, the March for Women's Rights. Does it not appear to you and to everyone in this room that the bottom line, most important issues of today are represented through E.L. Doctorow's original novel and through our production? We could have approached our decision on what to do this year by running away from the issues that are currently facing our community, but we prefer to hit the issues head on, for we know that the only way to stop the past from happening in the future is to talk about it in the present. At the end of the day, we are all high school students who made the decision together to come here. We do not simply do this activity for fun, because of every 1,000-person audience that stepped into our theater for the production to be educated and enlightened, one person leaves feeling changed, we have done our duty. We do not just entertain, we educate. It is our absolute job as young artists in our community to incite change in the world, and we stand hand in hand at every curtain call of every show together, regardless of culture, ethnicity, gender, political ideology, because we have a duty to perform, and we hold ourselves to the standards that is expected of us, not only from our peers and our directors, but from ourselves. And included in this is our wish to be truthful to the audience and to history itself. Much like that, you cannot finish a puzzle with a missing piece. We cannot be faithful to history without every component, language and all. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lloyd Henderson. I am the president of the Camden County East NAACP. And just to start off, just because you donate money to the NAACP doesn't give you the license to tell us what we stand for. All right? But on behalf of the Camden County East NAACP, I want to thank the board. I want to thank the superintendent. I want to thank Dr. Dickerson and Dr. Malachi and the other members of the board who took the step to remove the use of the highly racially derogatory and divisive N-word. I realize how difficult it could be. Many people, obviously here, don't approve of your decision. I don't understand that, but that's their position. We still at the NAACP believe that most, if not all, who have a clear understanding of the context of this word in American history as it relates to African Americans would support your decision to remove it. The public sanctioning of the use of the N-word does absolutely nothing towards moving this community and our nation in unity forward. That's why we're here today. This will not bring the community together. It will divide the community. We hear so much about how it's going to be a teachable moment. That moment never comes. Never comes. It's going to be a teachable moment, never gets here. And we repeat this same situation over and over and over again. You heard earlier 14,000 or 1,400 signatures, but the signatures does not change the context of the word, does not change the hurt of the word. I don't care how many signatures you gather. You give 1,400, I can give you another 1,400 against it. Ragtime will not unite the community. That's why we're here. Ragtime we'll never get to teach them a moment. Why have you heard that this is a role of a lifetime when it has to be at the expense of others? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Orlando. I live at 22 Harrogate Drive in Cherry Hill. I am a senior at Cherry Hill High School East, and I am Thespian Society Troop 213's president currently. Thank you, guys. A woman spoke earlier about the normalization and changing connotation of the N-word. She felt disgusted that the N-word is sometimes deemed as cool and popular. Well, I have to let you know that I share in your concern. When Gilda Cooper was speaking earlier, you guys shook your head when she said that a lot of students don't realize how horrible the N-word is and how they use it all the time. And it's not just white students or black students or Hispanics. I hear it all the time. I walk down the halls and I hear, "What's up, my N-word?" I see it in tweets. I see people use it jokingly. It's in almost every song I hear on the radio. Even if they cut it out, I know it's there. And I listen to it, and yeah, I'm white, but it disgusts me. And the problem, and people are under this false connotation that if you take the word but you take the ER out and you put an A in its place, it somehow makes it better. That's not true. Unfortunately, this word is used every day. The thing is, for many students, most students have not, at least at Cherry Hill East, because it is such a tolerant community, have not experienced the kind of horrors that so many of you have unfortunately experienced in your own daily lives, and I am so sorry that you had to go through that. In order to teach students what that word really means and to teach them not to ever use it as just a normal word in their vocabulary, it is necessary to use it in the show to evoke that sickening feeling you hear, and that sickening feeling that occurs when you hear that word. Students don't know that, so many students don't know that that word is wrong, and I believe that by going to the play and listening to those horrible, horrible words, I hope that my peers will realize that they should not be using it. I also implore you to please read the play. Even if you don't like it afterwards, that's okay, but I have a feeling that after you do read the play and see its powerful message of integration and people of all races, ethnicities, genders coming together, you might have a change of heart. The only reason that this play, quote unquote, falls apart after the removal of a word, in my opinion, aside from the horrors of censorship, is because the very great possibility that the play and the story will be removed once the word is removed. MTI has done it before. They did it to a high school in Chicago. They wanted to change the N-word to a different, less harmful word, and MTI pulled the show. When I heard that we could possibly use Negro or Black boy instead of the N-word, I originally said, okay, but then I spoke to Mr. Weaver and he expressed his concerns. I don't want this story to be cut. I mean, as you can see from all of the people here, this is a very powerful story, and it has a great message if you read it or you see it. And I don't think that we should risk removing this story from our community. So I encourage you to have an open mind and not just sit in your decision to not use the word, and if the story gets lost, oh well. Please listen to us. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, my name is Helen Ferrante. I live on 517 Mackin Drive. I have 2 children in the school system here. I am also a community activist. Most of you know who I am by now because I've attended numerous board meetings. I would like to start by saying I'm also an educator. I'm an educator in Camden City. Been there about 15 years, so I kind of understand the racial tension that comes from Keith and Amir. Unfortunately, what they don't understand is that as an educator, we need to teach our children the right and the wrong when it comes from racial tension. And as a teacher of primarily brown and black students, I understand how history plays a major part in what happens. And being raised in a primarily white neighborhood, not here, I never experienced racism until I taught in Camden. And why did I experience it there? Because I supported the brown and black people. And what did I learn from that experience? Is that in this day and age, especially with our president, we need to, more than ever before, teach our children, our future leaders, what our history was and what needs to happen now so that it doesn't get repeated in our future. And our future is our children. That's what people don't understand. As an educator, as a mother, I teach my children every day. Racism is the wrong way to go about it. Always. And so, I'm going to say this. In this room, because I'm a community activist, people behind me, how many of you are from Cherry Hill and live in Cherry Hill? Raise your hand, please. This is our community. We control the votes, technically, because we elected all of you. Therefore, it's our decision as much as it's yours, not these others that came into our town. Okay? Remember that. And I would also like to say this. I am a proud member of the Camden NAACP. And I will tell you this. I know I messed it up. I apologize. Give me credit. All right? But I want to say this. Being able to see both sides of the story, you got to remember one most important thing. If we don't teach our children now, what's going to happen in our future? Because it's just going to keep repeating, especially with the way our president is. And that's where I will end. Thank you and good night.
My name is Byron Hunter. I live at 1121 Siegel Lane. Clearly, as you can see, there is a tremendous amount of passion around this issue. I can understand the position that particularly the students are taking, those that are of the arts, because it does have an impact on them, but I also understand the impact it has on other students that are not represented here, because it also has an impact on them. Everyone looks at it from their own vantage point. I won't go into why it's wrong, because I think Dr. Malocci, you were very eloquent in the way in which you described it. As we all recognize, it's a very deplorable word. It's actually a word that when you look up ethnic slurs, for other groups, when you look at the slurs associated with different groups, when they really want to drive the point home, they put the N-word after it. And you can see that in a number of different groups. So clearly, it's there for a reason. I think the most important piece of this is when we talk about removing the word and using and substituting it for someone else, we're looking at it as a teachable moment. And keep in mind, I'm a human resources executive. So I'm used to developing learning products on diversity and inclusion for adult learners. I don't do it for students, but I do it for adult learners. And one of the things I can speak to is, when you start talking about how do you move messages and how do you move people, because basically what I do is, my job, as I describe for people who work for me, our job is to move people so we can move an organization. So when you look at moving people, I know that those that are within the arts believe that they're the ones that are going to educate. But really the ones that are going to educate are those that are the teachers, as well as, but most importantly, it's all of the parents. my kids know not to use those words and not to use any iteration of it because they know it's wrong, not because they saw a play that spoke to it, or not because they, because a teacher told them about it. They learned about it directly from me. Just like when I brought them to God, they learned about God through me because they watched me as an example. They watched me going to church. They watched me read my Bible. They watched me spend time with them and taking them, and then they wanted to become a part of that. That's really our responsibility. So if we're looking for a teachable moment, those that see the play who are racist, that is not going to affect them. That's not going to change any of them. Those that aren't, it's not going to change them either. Where it needs to be changed is for those in the home. Because if you don't use it in the home, and people know not to use it in the home, your children know not to use it in the home, they won't use it outside of the home. And this teachable moment that we're looking for really is one that's really the responsibility of us as parents. Not the plays. And for everyone who was I applauded everyone who came up because I could see both. I'm a human resources guy. I see both ends of both perspectives. And I would hope that as people come forward, that you also respect their opinion and you acknowledge them as well as they're acknowledging you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Evan Brody. I'm an alumni of Cherry Hill East High School and their theater program, class of 2014. I'd like first to say let's not rank or put levels on racial slurs. It means different things to every single person, and people are hurt in different ways. People do not see plays as teachable moments because people do not teach. They do Legally Blonde. They do Grease. We need to allow our children to see shows like To Kill a Mockingbird. We need our children to see shows like Ragtime. They shelter these high schoolers and blind them from our racial past. Art makes an impact on the home. These homes where our parents tell us not to show any sort of racial bias, any sort of racial slurs towards other people, respect, that is taught through the world impact. Art makes an impact on the world. And I also implore Mr. Henderson to listen to the community. This is the community. Miss Cooper, who just spoke, donates money to you. Listen to her. Don't say it doesn't matter if she donated money to you. So I would thank the cast of Ragtime for speaking their mind and showing us that we can change and that our community can change, showing the hope we can have in our community. Warner Brothers Pictures has a little quotation that they have before older films, and it says, "The movie you are about to see is a product of its time. It may depict some of the ethnic and racial prejudices that were commonplace in U.S. society. These depictions were wrong then, and they are wrong today. While the following does not represent the Warner Brothers view of today's society, these cartoons are being presented as they were originally created. Because to do otherwise would be claiming that these prejudices never existed." I propose in a similar context that we have a disclaimer like this before the show, that we keep the text that is originally in the show, the way it is written, but with a disclaimer, so that people understand, the same way Rick Lewis had spoke before and talks about talk back after, so that everybody can learn, both before and after the show, that this is not okay. And that, you know what, that one person who is racist in the audience knows before the show that's not okay, and they know after the show that's not okay. All of this dialogue. So I would like to thank the members of the Board of Education and the NAACP so that they understand that we all have voices and we cannot sanitize our nation's history. The students of this production should be uncomfortable with this dialogue, but we need to discuss it. Let us start discussions first by teaching these talented students in these audiences. Changing the dialogue of the show would be to pretend these prejudices never existed. But we can teach our nation's future. These kids are our future. Listen to them. These very cast members and the audiences who come to see this beautiful piece of art. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jack Granite. I'm a sophomore at Cherry Hill East, and I live at 1902 Huntington Drive. I am up here right now because of a couple other people
I was not expecting to speak tonight, but there's something that really struck me. I heard in one of the speeches of the members of the NAACP, they said that there were, after the racial slurs, there was no teaching moment in this musical, and that is the number one reason that proves that the person who said that did not read the play, because there is a teaching moment. The play begins with the musical number Ragtime, and there are three groups: the immigrants, the whites, and the blacks. And they are separate. They are moving around. There's a whole dance part of the first piece where they are moving around separately behind their leaders, afraid of difference. And by the end of the show, in the song "Make Them Hear You," all of the nations, all of the different groups have come together. And if that isn't a teaching moment, I quite frankly don't know what is. On another, you guys have been hearing so much about the musical, but also I wanted to mention how important Troop 213 is. We're not doing this to hurt anybody. We're doing this because we're young, passionate actors, and we want to inspire people. And this show is really one that would inspire people. I do understand, the controversy that is coming with this show, but I don't feel as if taking any of these words out is necessary, because people are worried that it's going to make people uncomfortable, and that is exactly the point, to make people uncomfortable, so that they realize how bad times were. Because if history is not taught, it is doomed to repeat itself. Thank you.
Folks, just as we're about 2 hours into the public discussion or the public comment coming through, remember as we introduce this, the respectful piece of where we are. This is your opportunity as members of the public to address the board. It's not an open air debate. I'm not looking for folks to come to the microphone and have discussion or dialogue back and forth or talk about who said what. It's your opportunity as the community to come and to address the board. So I just ask that as you do that you address the board.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Jenkins, and I live at 914 Fulton Street in Cherry Hill. I heard a lot about the teachable moment, and I've been an educator for all of my adult life. Presenting is not teaching. And as all teachers know, if you give something once, the students haven't learned it. So to say that these are teachable moments, it's like talking about fleeting moments in time. So if this is a teachable instrument, then it has to be planned like a unit. It has to have you have to do something prior to it, right after it. Because I also heard several times that the N-word is used a whole lot in the hallways of Cherry Hill East. So maybe that isn't the place to just present a provocative play, because I'll give you two personals. One is somebody else's personal statement. My son teaches at the high school, and I won't tell you which one. I won't give you his name. And you know how you can Google rate my teacher? The comment was that in blank blank teacher and his in daughter. So now I was all right with them calling my son in because he's an adult. But this person now is going to call my granddaughter the N-word. So now, I'm hurt. I'm texting him, you got to go on, you got to get it off. And he did. Just recently, I was talking to Pat McCargo. I said, well, how's your daughter doing? She said, she got hurt. And I'm thinking an accident. No, she went out to get the mail in Cherry Hill in an apartment complex. Someone saw her, backed up, rolled down the window, called her the N-word, and threw a bottle and hit her in the head. So we have to do more than a teachable moment, because the play is a presentation. And as a teacher, you cannot just present something and think that the children have it. Learning is a function of instruction.
Hi, I'm Marissa Josephs, 106 and Province Court, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Hello. I respect the opposition, and I do the best that I can to understand where you are coming from. I have been called names. I have been assaulted. These may have been against my religion and my gender, not my race.
But these things happened. I understand pain of discrimination just for gender. Not the same thing, but I understand. Censorship today will not change what has been said in the past. And in that respect, censorship today will not aid progress tomorrow. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Mike Buono. I'm on Westbury Drive in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Forgive my attire, I was not prepared to speak tonight. I graduated from East in 2012 as a member of the theater department. It was one of the best years of my entire life. And I went to school in Chicago. And when I got to Chicago, one of my classmates was from North Jersey. And, you know, we bonded over Jersey, like, oh, do you go Seaside Heights? Do you go to Wildwood? Where do you go? You know, Jersey things. And when he said, where did you go to high school? I said, I went to East. And he said, oh, East. I heard they have a really amazing theater department. And I said, yeah, I guess so. And I want to highlight my time at East because I felt it was very important to bring up in this conversation. 2009, we did Fiddler on the Roof. We had swastikas on the soldiers' arms. There was no meeting here about it. The next year we did Pippin, had a full 10-minute sexual orgy on stage with people wearing almost little to nothing, and there was no meeting about it. And then we did To Kill a Mockingbird, and I played Atticus Finch in that production of To Kill a Mockingbird. And you know what we did? We had people come in to talk to us about racism, people who experienced it in that time period and today in modern society. We also had talkbacks with the kids of Cherry Hill East, and after a real show on a Sunday matinee, we had a talkback and we talked about how awful the word is and how terrible it brings back awful memories of the past. And the juniors in that high school were reading To Kill a Mockingbird at that time, and they came to a show during the middle of the day. It was a class field trip to come see the show, to be educated. There was no meeting about that here in 2011. I want to say something that has not been said yet in this meeting. I want to say Tom Weaver is a good man. Pete Gambino is a good man. And Charlie Musumeci was a good man. And they believe in theater as an educational tool for this society. And I agree as well. I will end by saying this. I don't know what it's like to be black in America. I don't know that. I do know what it's like to be gay in America. I know what it's like to be called a faggot. And if I saw a movie or a show that censored that word, I would be mad because I want to hear it. Because we cannot pretend that the past didn't happen. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christopher Pucci, Lincoln Avenue, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I live in Cherry Hill. I grew up in Cherry Hill. I was educated completely in Cherry Hill. I did theater in Cherry Hill. I still do theater in Cherry Hill. I'm not used to being on this end of the microphone. I've done this show. I could tell you how it's an important teaching tool, but everybody's done that. I could tell you how by censoring it, you're not only giving your audience an inaccurate portrayal of the struggle of the African American community at that time and cheapening their triumph over it, but you've already heard that. So I'd just like to bring this up. On August 26, 2014, members of this board approved the book Warriors Don't Cry by Melba Patia Beals. It is read by every single 8th grader in the district. It's a first-hand account of the Little Rock Nine and what they went through, and it is littered with the N-word because that's what she was called. That's what she experienced. And if You guys included that book in the curriculum for a reason. You did it to expose kids to this, to make it real, to not just make it some historical thing that happened in the past, but something that happened to people. And I think if the NAACP members could find a way to make people feel what they feel and experience what they've experienced, they would do that. And that's what theater does. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elise Barada. I live at 1931 Kings Point Road. I'm a sophomore at East, and knowing that the people who are so against this show being put on and the historical use of any and all derogatory terms used in the show have probably never read the book, never read the script, listened to any of the music, or watched the movie. Because if you had, you will find that the N-word is used multiple times in the 2.5-hour show. The show does not revolve around the N-word, unlike some of the literature that is required in our school. And if anyone has done their research, you will understand that the show describes the struggles of anyone that wasn't white and how difficult it was for them. And I know I'm a white girl. I can't speak for anyone who has ever had that word said to them as a derogatory term. But the show is not about that. The show is about the fact that, yes, 1906 was a racist time, but not everything about 1906 was racist. Ragtime was a type of music, and if you had ever seen the opening number of Ragtime, you'll see that the people of New Rochelle, the people of Harlem, and the immigrants all danced to this ragtime music and forgot that they were quote-unquote different. And that is the main point of the show, not the N-word. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alicia Casenza, and I live on Versailles Boulevard. And I wasn't expecting to speak today. I came in full support of my castmates, but hearing everything that everybody has had to say has made me want to come up here and express my thoughts on this. So, I'm a freshman in the theater department at East, and I have been accepted with such open arms, and it has been amazing. And there's just such trust in this cast that we can trust each other to know that when we use racially charged words, that it doesn't mean like anything harmful to each other. It's to help portray a message that is so important that people need to realize that this is something awful that's happening in our world now and that it needs to be fixed. And Mr. Weaver has had discussions with us about the word and how we have to use it as a tool to help others understand how bad it is and how bad it was back then and even now. So I also want to say that if you censor this one word, it opens up doors to people who want to censor other things. And if you keep censoring things, it's going to strip away piece and piece of a show until there's nothing left and no message to teach. And when I was listening to other people speak, I heard someone in the back say, either where's the teachings or where's the teachers? This show is the teaching. Us showing how awful the times were back then is us teaching people that we need to see how awful we still are today and how we need to bring more peace into this world. And the teachers, the actors and actresses of this show are the teachers. We are teaching the message of this show to help people understand that we need to be careful with what we say because words do matter, and it's not okay to be saying things like the N-word, but we have to teach people that for them to realize it. Thank you.
I guess I have to take my glasses off for now. I'd like to say this. I look around this room, I've seen a lot of...
What's your name?
No, it's on. Give your name.
All right, my name is...
Thank you. My name is Nancy Walker Hunter. I live at 1121 Seagull Lane. And I am a parent of two 15-year-old boys at Cherry Hill East. And currently I serve as the recording secretary for the Cherry Hill Theater Boosters Club. And as I listened tonight, I had no intention to speak at all. And I'm really only here because I wanted to hear the sentiments of people who were so passionate about the idea of censorship. So I'm up here for, one, a selfish reason, and one, to give context to how this all began. I'm going to claim right now that I am probably the first person that wrote that letter to Dr. Perry to be forwarded to Dr. Meloche. This is the hardest thing I've ever done, to stand in public and to say that I did that. Because by nature, I'm a chicken. I'm not courageous. But I want you to imagine for a minute me at a meeting where there's been talk of ragtime. And at no time up until the meeting on January 5th, I think it was the 5th, it was a Thursday, did the topic of whether there was language in there offensive. So I'm new to the district, basically. I love theater. I am not for censorship. And when I wrote my letter, I had no intention whatsoever of trying to shut down the play. And I want to say to all of the young people who spoke tonight and all of the passionate parents, I completely understand your passion. But what I also heard is your passion is about you. It's about your kids, your stars, your children. It's not about my two boys who came home and said, Mom, they're going to say the N-word in the play. I also want you to know that when I expressed my feelings at the meeting, and all I said was it an equal opportunity offender? I was sneered at, eyes rolled. One woman told me I had an attitude and I probably hadn't seen the play. So if you want to talk about having an opportunity to come together, having an opportunity to create dialogue, I'm here to tell you tonight, I have been silenced by the group. I was not spoken to tonight. My son was approached at school and someone said to him, I hear your mom is the one who contacted the NAACP and you're shutting down our play. I didn't contact the NAACP. I contacted beloved friends and people who I trust with their wisdom, because it was my uncle, Dr. Wyatt T. Walker from Merchantville, New Jersey, who rode the Freedom Bus, who was in the hotel that got bombed, who orchestrated the Children's March. And let me tell you about the Children's March. And you can say that we're all going to come together, but I worry about my sons because I have been ignored. I have a text thread on my phone that I printed out. It's 8 pages long from the board members. Not one of them said, Nancy, you're upset. We need to talk. Not one person reached out to me in this week prior to coming here. It was clear that I was upset, and it was ignored. And let me tell you what happened. After the Children's March in 1963, they got what they wanted. They used children because they couldn't use adults, because the adults didn't want to lose their jobs and their homes, so they took the chance of using children in the schools. I asked my uncle one day, who's now in a wheelchair after several strokes, Uncle T, did you ever regret that you used the children for your purpose? And he said, no. And I am worried because 4 months after they got what they wanted, they bombed the church with the 4 little girls in it. So I'm appealing to you, parents of these theater people, not to sneer at my sons because I'm the mother who wrote the first letter, not to make derogatory remarks, and I know I'm over, but I'm worried for them. Not this year. I'm not worried you're going to call them the N-word. It's not going to change who they are. But I'm worried that they won't have friends, and I'm worried that 2 or 3 years down the line, there'll be some subtle, sneaky way to hurt them. Thank you.
My name is Emma Waring, and Dr. Meloche, he knows me very well, and I had an opportunity to meet the principal of Cherry Hill East. I am the president of Cherry Hill African American Civic Association. We meet with Dr. Meloche ongoing to express our concerns about what's going on. in the school system, ongoing meeting with the chief of police and the mayor. That is our goal. And Pat McCargo is our chairperson for the education committee. I asked you to come back because I want to applaud her for standing up. And it's sometimes you have to stand alone for what you believe. I'm not a resident of Cherry Hill. I'm a Carolina girl, as they say. And yes, we experienced some of the same thing that went on here. When I was young, Dr. King came to my hometown, a small town. And immediately after he left, they burned the church down because he came there and he spoke to us. Okay? We were not proud of that. But later on, about a year ago, I found out that it was a white person who lived nearby who burned the church down. I was really curious about that. And Ms. Walker contacted us concerning what she experienced. And we are here to assist anyone. If you were offended, yes, we will try to help you. We contacted the school, Mr. Weaver, we met with him, and the superintendent. We will support her. The NAACP was contacted, and as a result of our conversation, she was okay. But I want to applaud you for standing. And sometime, again, when you believe in something, you have to stand alone if no one supports you. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jim McCarty, 119 West Riding Road in Cherry Hill. I am here to address you, actually. I actually was not expecting to come up and speak. I am a proud parent of one of the actors in the show as well. But I fear, I don't pretend to understand how this came to be right now. I don't pretend to understand all the conversation you've had. I don't pretend to understand, who has come to you and why and how long ago. What I do understand is how it appears from the community standpoint. And it appears as though a decision was made to put on a show. You got a complaint and you made a quick decision to try to change the direction of the decision that was originally made. And I think that's an unfortunate thing. I think that there is an incredible opportunity here with what's going on in our community, clearly in our high school, what's going on in our country, and all of the obvious issues that we have. You've already gotten this to a point where you have dialogue within the community, which is positive, and I believe is a teachable moment, by the way. I believe that this is teachable. I think you have the ability and the opportunity to make a much larger impact in this community by allowing this dialogue to continue, by allowing the show to be done without censorship, by allowing the actors and the students to participate in the dialogue, and by inviting the rest of the community in to have these conversations prior to and after the show in terms of teachbacks. I think you have an incredible opportunity. I hope you don't waste it.
Hi, my name is Rita McClellan. I live on Carolina Avenue in Cherry Hill. And like several other people here tonight, I was not planning on speaking. But after hearing what a lot of people had to say, I felt that I really had to come up here and voice my support for the kids, because this is really what it's about. It's about the kids who are going to learn from this play. I had hoped to bring my children to this play and describe to them what it was like back then. When I saw the article in the newspaper the other day, I immediately picked it up and walked it into my son's bedroom. And I said, "What do you know about this?" And he said, "I don't know. I've never heard about this before." I used it at that point in that time to make it a teachable moment between him and I. So he would understand, yeah, the N-word is really unacceptable. It's offensive. However, we can use it as a teachable moment. And this is a point in this school district's history where we can really use it to teach history. Now, I am really concerned because I feel that this district is taking a speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil stance on this. Let's pretend that this word, it's almost like you're saying, let's pretend that this word does not exist. It does. And there is a very simple solution to this. The people that are here tonight from the NAACP, they should be brought in to the actors and to the kids in the school, and they should use it to teach these kids why that word is offensive. Simple solution. I don't think it's unreasonable, and I really think you should consider it. But I really don't think you should censorship this play, especially at this moment in time in the history of this country, because these kids in the very near future are going to have to understand this history and are going to have to make a lot of hard decisions. Showing this play will help them understand that. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Stephanie Cosenza. I live on Versailles Boulevard in Cherry Hill. Again, I was not planning on speaking either. I have to say that I have not been so disappointed with the Board of Education as I have been in the past 2 weeks. The first being that I had to sign a permission slip for my daughter to discuss the presidential inauguration. How sad is that? And now this. You want to make a difference? It's not by censoring a play. Get on the school buses. That's where you're going to make a difference. Because let me tell you something. My kids were driven to school their entire elementary school careers. It wasn't until the 6th grade that those kids got on the school bus. And what an education they got on that school bus. And not a pleasant one at that. Censoring a play is not going to make the difference. Getting on those school buses, getting in the hallways. I think that, of course, I lost my train of thought here, but, you know, you guys made an apology in an official statement. An apology for something that you hadn't even done yet. How weak does that make us look? I mean, that shows weakness. I feel like perhaps we are living in a society now where, you know, this is offensive, that's offensive, this is offensive, and everything has to be, to be shut down. The bottom line is, if the word, and we have to face this, if the word gets removed from the show, chances are the show is getting pulled. Are you guys ready for a letdown of an entire community, an entire cast? I mean, that is major disappointment. To say, some gentleman came up here and said that there is no teachable moment. Really? My children don't know anything about the N-word other than it's not acceptable to use and that it is derogatory. They know nothing else. So could my children potentially learn from this play? Yes, I think they could. So to say there is no teaching moment, I think is not accurate. I would hope that you guys would possibly reconsider not censoring the show. Allow this to happen. Give a pamphlet. Let somebody hit the stage before the show goes on, because I guarantee you there's going to be some parents who bring little kids not even realizing what the show is. And yeah, that shouldn't happen. But let somebody make a speech. Put a handout in the program. Let them know ahead of time. You know, and if they feel like, maybe this isn't for me, I brought a little kid, they can feel free to walk out and leave. But I do think that this, for sure, can be a teachable moment. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Spencer Levy. I live in 7 Vimeo Terrace, Cherry Hill. I want to say something very clear, that us as actors, we are not selfish. If we were selfish, we would not be doing this show. We would have gone up to our directors saying that we do not want to do this show. We will not audition. Ragtime is an extremely important show to do, especially at this point right now. People are saying at this room that you cannot be taught from the show, as people have been saying, and I have seen the show twice, and as I am doing the show right now, I have learned so much, and I feel like deleting this word and censoring it just sweeps it right under the rug and completely takes the message away. Thank you.
I've been texting during this meeting with Howard Sherman at the
Yeah,
Arts Integrity Initiative.
If you've already spoken, you have to wait till everybody else finishes speaking. You can get back in line.
Hi, my name is Ruth Levitt Scott. I live at 1125 Yardley Road in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I just want to say that we chose Cherry Hill because it is inclusive. My daughter goes to Cherry Hill East because she was the only Jewish kid for many, many years. And finally, she does not feel as an only. I do not pretend to understand or embrace the pain that your history brings to you. I don't think that anybody here is denying or arguing the terribleness of our history. And it is our history. It's yours, it's mine, it's our kids, it is all of us. No one is arguing that. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I had people throw pennies at me. I had people ask to see my tail. I was called all sorts of horrible, horrible things. My pain is not bigger or worse than yours. You happen to be there. It's not, my back hurts, but for everybody. Wherever you are in your world, my pain is not bigger or worse. At the same time, we are here right now having a discussion. For it to end as we walk out the door is a great loss to all of us. Whether you live in Cherry Hill or not, that would be the biggest loss. Censorship might be the next loss. I do have something prepared, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate everybody. I'm sorry that you are having that experience. Nobody should have that experience. You cannot blame others.
Just a reminder, again, you're addressing the board.
Okay.
You're addressing the board.
Gotcha.
Please.
Here we go. The show takes place during the turn of the century, and the themes of racism, social injustice, and overcoming adversity find themselves right in the audience lap with this production. By removing certain words offensive to some and leaving other offensive racial, religious, ethnic slurs towards other groups of people suggests that certain groups of people take priority over others. There are no winners when you pick and choose who is protected and who is not. Certainly all groups of people, all individuals of people deserve equal respect. If you pick and choose, what are we truly teaching our children? If you then decide to remove all offensive language in this play, or next week's civics lessons, world civics lessons, or next year's revised curriculum, what are you teaching our children? They need to be uncomfortable with these words, these terms, these phrases, these sentiments.
Mrs. Scott, we need to move on.
Excuse me, you let many people go on for very, very long after the red light. I am almost finished and I'm going to continue.
Okay, well, you're
These
reading
words,
a
these
prepared
terms,
statement.
these phrases,
Please
these
carry on.
sentiments, and from our history, their history. Surely if we rewrite history, we are doomed to repeat it. The lesson will not have been learned. This is a teachable moment at its best. This show is a lesson in racism. It is a lesson in our country's history, and now more than ever, considering the light that is shining on our country at this time, I beg you, I implore you to reconsider the censorship of the Cherry Hill East production of Ragtime the Musical. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Levy. I live at 7 Rymel Terrace in Cherry Hill, and I was not really prepared to speak. After I heard my son speak, I said, you know what? He's 15 years old. He's passionate about theater. He's a very good student, and we recently had this conversation because his brother is going to college, and he said, Mom, he loves math. He loves science. What am I going to study when I go to college? And I said, you study what you love. And for him, it's theater. And it's not about a word. It's about a story. And a story is made up of a lot of words. And words matter. Like Dr. Malash said, words matter. Every single word matters. And when these kids stand on stage, they take every single word so seriously to tell the story, to make sure that their point is gotten across to the people who have come to listen to it. Whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama, whether it's a musical, or as in The Miracle Worker, whether it's a play where the main character doesn't utter a word. Words matter and the story gets told. These kids are very serious about what they do, and they treat the theater with so much respect that I wish that the board would consider giving the actors the amount of respect that they deserve to perform the play as it's supposed to be performed. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I applaud the kids today, even though I'm against the play.
Mr. Conner, if you're going to speak, you have to go to the microphone,
Young
please.
people coming up to the microphone and talking, I really do applaud that. And I respect you guys for that, and thank you. And I will say this, I heard this several times from you guys, that if one person is helped, then it's worth it. And I heard that loud and clear. The same token, if one person's hurt and offended and injured, it should not go on. Thank you.
Hi, I've been texting back and forth with Howard
State
Sherman.
your name.
Selena Cardi, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 119 West Riding Road. I've been texting back and forth with Howard Sherman at the Arts Integrity Initiative at the New School in New York. He, in turn, has been in touch with Brian Stokes Mitchell regarding this whole situation. They are willing to come down and talk to all of us and have everybody together to discuss this show. But you cannot change it. It violates the integrity of every artist that has ever put their heart and soul into anything. Not just these kids, every artist ever. Imagine every art form done by every group of people that makes a statement. Can you imagine if people went around censoring that? That's horrendous. They're willing to come down and have a discussion. The question is, are you willing to do the work to do that and educate? Granted, yes, things have been handled inappropriately up until this point, but we're here. We're together. We're discussing it. I'm absolutely learning a lot tonight. I don't know about anybody else, but I am. Don't stop it and just throw it away. Use this opportunity. See the show. Thousands and thousands of people who have seen this show have had their soul stirred by it. I saw it at a high school in North Jersey, and I cried more than any other show I've ever seen on Broadway or anywhere else. It jarred me because of the text. It is absolutely vital to the integrity of the show, and I promise you, if you take the time to read it, watch it, and give us the great privilege of doing the honor of putting it on this stage, I promise you, you will stir the souls of so many people. There is no question.
I'm going to tell you my name, but again, I'm not giving you my address. And if I get booed, so be it. But I have to say this. To call the superintendent of schools weak because he said, I'm sorry, is unconscionable. That shows a man of strength because he knew that some of his students and some of his parents were hurting. So, Dr. Malosh, you were not weak. You showed character and strength. The second thing I will say is that I'm 70 years old, and as I said before, this is not an easy solution. The fact of the matter is, the horse is out of the barn. So the question is, how do you get it back in there? You relieve one group? All well and good. What about the kids and the parents are still hurting? We pay taxes just like they do. It ain't going to be an easy decision. And you and I both know, just so you know, we did some investigation with MTI as well. You know for a fact that they do and have allowed changes in the plays and the productions. And we have talked to schools both urban and suburban, not just in New Jersey, but around this country. We've had people who may not tell you to your face, but they've told us from the other schools that they would have never selected that play to be chosen in the climate that this country has been headed for the past 2 years. You have a difficult decision, but you can't just consider the issues of one group over the other, because then what happens? What's the answer? Is it going to mushroom and get bigger and bigger? Are we going to become the next Selma? I sure hope not. Meet with the groups. Don't have a problem with that. You have the cultural proficiency. You have a gentleman back here who's in the theater arts who's willing to come and talk to groups. But again, the horse is out of the barn. You got to get it back in, and you got to get it back in that's conducive and fair to everybody involved.
Cedric Middleton, 301 Browning Lane, Unit 40, Centura. I would just like to personally thank the members of the NAACP and the members of the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association for voicing their concerns. Even though I clearly am, there's a difference in our opinions of the censorship and the use of their words. As was stated before, it does take courage to stand up for what you believe in, even if you are not in the majority, because I firmly believe that we have to look at every side of anything to find the best solution. I would just like to say one other I would say that as a student myself, reading books, reading different books on slavery and things like that, like sometimes visualizing it helps students more. And I'm sure that you have seen this throughout your years of working with different students and seeing the data and statistics. But a lot of students learn visually by seeing someone do it, not just by reading pages. Because I'll be honest, there's a lot of books that I've read, but it didn't hit me until I saw it in a different way. So I've read dozens of books about Martin Luther King Jr., for example, but in a way, seeing the movie Selma or seeing different documentaries that visualized, what he went through and what those different people went through, it affected me on more than just an intellectual level. So it helped me in an emotional level, and I would just like you all to consider that there may be a lot of students that they may learn. While we should incorporate this idea of putting it in the playbill and things like that, but that not censoring the show and having a visual and being able to see it and be able to hear it may affect students in a positive way. Thank you.
My name is Kathleen Jenkins. I'm at 914 Fulton Street. On another note, the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association has partnered with the Cherry Hill Library to have an essay poster video contest. That is, the topic this year is African Americans in Arts and Entertainment. The deadline for the entries are this Friday, but the next board meeting, we will be presenting the winners. So I'm hoping that everyone comes out to applaud those students who celebrated African Americans in arts and entertainment through essays, videos, and posters, and they're monetary prizes. So if you have a couple of days, you can get it together. There are monetary prizes, and for students K through 12, just so you know.
Rick Lewis, 170 Nantucket Trail, Medford. Couple things. There's been sort of an adversarial tone to a lot of what's been going on. And I said it before, and I'm going to bring back the idea of community. There is a level of hurt and experience and life that can be and should be that teaching moment. And when I say that teaching, I'm going to say it simple. You gentlemen.
Again, just as a reminder,
I'm sorry.
Please address the board.
The folks who have lived life and had those experiences, they need to be part of that teaching. They need to be the ones who go to school because, and I'll say it, I grew up in Philly. I grew up at the north end of Broad Street. I had some experiences, but there's a lot of experiences that people 20 years older than me, 15 years older than me had that I don't relate to, that I'm sure a lot of the people here don't relate to. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do as a community is kind of where we're at. Because no matter what, this is happening. And that's an important thing because this is happening. The dialogue is happening. Now, this probably, if this had happened 6 months ago, it'd be a whole different picture, but we're not there. So here we are. So what do we do now? And I think that if we find ways to engage everyone that's affected, because if you change the words of the show, it's probable that the show is going to get pulled. Not necessarily, not definite, but probable, because I've worked with MTI. It's probable. So it's a, do we do it? And if we do it, how do we take care of everyone that's affected by it, or we don't do it? And those are kind of where the choices are. But I think because the dialogue has already begun, and because the passion is happening, and because there are people who have made it very, very clear that the content is important and the content matters and why the content matters on both sides of the argument, it then becomes, how do we take all of this and as a community make it work so that 6 months from now it's better than it is right now? Thanks.
Okay, I just want to add real quick, 2 things you have to remember. The children have been working very hard on this. To scrap them from them now is an injustice to them. Okay. Second, we want to remember, or let me start with this. Let me enlighten you on some of these people. Amir Khan, Keith Benson Sr., both have tried and have failed to put a charter school in here. So I'm almost wondering if some of this is a bit of a retaliation. So I know this. You can say all you want in the back, but I'm just saying that you have to think about this. I also have heard that there may have been a closed door waiting with them. If that's the case, I just strongly ask that the community be involved in the meetings that are closed door so that we have a say also in what is going on. So that it's fair and equal in creating a solution for everybody involved. And I don't think that's too much to ask. Thank you.
I want to address that, and I don't want to take over, but because you addressed me directly,
no.
I'm going to say to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to say to you.
No, thank you.
My brother here said he was from Medford. My coach wouldn't even. I had to go around the back of the
folks,
door.
just Mr. Khan.
Feel
Mr.
the back
Khan.
of my head from when I was hit in Cherry Hill and called N-words.
Mr. Khan.
It's not about a backroom meeting.
Mr. Khan,
okay?
thank you.
We didn't have any meetings. There was no backroom
Mr.
meetings.
Khan.
It's out of passion and commitment, and I don't want to see our people
Mr.
hurting
Khan,
anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Folks, just as because we're going to get ready to move out, and the board is going to make a motion to adjourn shortly here. Everybody has spoken. A couple of folks has spoken more than once to go through. We've hit a threshold where the civility and the respect in the conversation is starting to deteriorate. So we'll allow Ezra to speak, and then Dr. Dickinson, I believe, is going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Hi everyone, Ezra Newgill of 8 Vanessa Court. I just really wanted to end this meeting on a note of positivity and say that in the end, this is about the kids and the future generations of our nation who are going to build our democracy. And so, thank you. Whatever the outcome is, at the end, theater is art, read the play, and knowledge is power. So everyone just leave this knowing that your voice was heard, and that we're going to move forward from this. So thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you for all your comments. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Goodwin and Mrs. Matlack. Thank you.